Welcome to Meet Patel Audiobooks. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing. Let's begin.
Chapter 81A, Circumflex Euros, The Ghost Patient. For the next 2 weeks, Ethan's life returned to something resembling normal, at least as normal as life could be for an international champion, trauma surgeon, healthcare advisor, and participant in a national reform project, which was to say Euros not normal at all. Most mornings began before sunrise. Rounds, emergency cases, meetings, surgeries, reports, research. The workload never seemed to decrease. Yet strangely, Ethan enjoyed it, because every day felt meaningful. Every day felt like progress. One rainy Thursday evening, however, something unusual happened. Ethan was reviewing post-operative patients when a call arrived from the emergency department. The attending physician sounded frustrated. "Can you come down here?" "What's wrong?" A long pause followed. Then the physician sighed. "We have a patient nobody can explain." That immediately captured Ethan's attention. Medicine loved patterns. Symptoms pointed toward diagnoses. Diagnoses guided treatment. When something didn't fit, doctors paid attention. 5 minutes later, Ethan arrived in the emergency department. The atmosphere felt strange. Several physicians stood around a patient chart discussing possibilities. Yet nobody appeared confident. The patient himself sat quietly on a hospital bed. Male, approximately 40 years old, stable vital signs, no obvious distress. At first glance, he looked perfectly healthy, which made the situation even stranger. Ethan reviewed the chart, then reviewed it again. The symptoms didn't make sense. Episodes of severe pain, temporary paralysis, sudden neurological deficits, abnormal laboratory findings, then normal laboratory findings. Every test seemed to contradict the previous one. Several specialists had already evaluated him. Neurology, internal medicine, emergency medicine. None possessed a clear explanation. "What do you think?" the attending physician asked. Ethan didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked toward the patient. Sometimes charts miss details. Patients rarely did. The conversation lasted nearly 30 minutes. Medical history, lifestyle, work environment, travel history, family history. Every possible clue mattered. At first, nothing stood out. Then one detail caught his attention. The patient worked at a chemical manufacturing facility. Interesting. Very interesting. Ethan asked several additional questions. The answers only increased his suspicion. Hours later, after consulting toxicology references and reviewing obscure case reports, a possibility emerged. Rare. Extremely rare. Rare enough that most physicians would never encounter it. Industrial heavy metal exposure. The symptoms matched surprisingly well. The diagnosis was immediately investigated. Additional tests were ordered. Specialized laboratory analysis followed. The results returned the next afternoon. Positive. The room became silent. The diagnosis was correct. Weeks of confusion solved by a detail hidden inside a routine conversation. The patient would recover. Treatment options existed. The danger had been identified in time. As the news spread through the hospital, several physicians congratulated Ethan. The attention felt familiar, yet something else bothered him. The diagnosis itself. Not because it was difficult, because it was uncommon. A rare condition, a rare presentation, a rare solution. Later that evening, Ethan entered the surgical simulation system. The moment he arrived, a new section inside the Future Medicine archive illuminated. A notification appeared. *** diagnostic milestone achieved ***. Rare disease recognition increased ***. Medical pattern analysis plus 7 ***. New archive section unlocked ***. Curious, Ethan entered. Thousands of patient records appeared before him. Not real patients. Simulations. Cases. Diagnostic puzzles. Some common. Others incredibly rare. The title hovered above the collection. ***. The Ghost Patients Archive ***. Ethan frowned. The name sounded dramatic. Suspiciously dramatic. Then he opened the first case. The symptoms seemed impossible. The findings contradicted each other. The diagnosis appeared hidden beneath layers of misleading information. A challenge. A difficult one. A smile slowly appeared. Because after months of trauma surgery, leadership projects, and healthcare reform, the system had found a new way to torture him. Diagnostic medicine. A voice suddenly echoed through the archive. The system's familiar notification tone followed. ***. Future. Objective detected ***. Unknown diagnostic crisis approaching ***. Preparation recommended ***. The message vanished, leaving only silence behind. Ethan stared at the empty space, then sighed, because experience had taught him something important. Whenever the surgical simulation system warned him about something usually happened, and when it did, it was rarely simple. Chapter 82A. Circumflex Euros, the patient who shouldn't exist. 2 weeks passed after the heavy metal poisoning case. Life at Westbridge Medical Center returned to its usual rhythm. Trauma alerts, emergency surgeries, department meetings, research projects. The National Trauma Network continued expanding across the kingdom, consuming much of Ethan's free time. On the surface, everything appeared normal, yet something continued bothering him. A warning from the surgical simulation system. ***. Unknown diagnostic crisis approaching. ***. The message had appeared only once, then disappeared. No explanation, no additional information, just a warning. Experience had taught Ethan not to ignore warnings. Unfortunately, the system never provided useful details. Monday morning began like any other. Ethan arrived before sunrise and joined the trauma team's morning rounds. Professor Cross led the discussion. Residents presented cases. Treatment plans were reviewed. Complications were discussed. Everything proceeded normally until a nurse entered the conference room. The interruption immediately attracted attention. Cross disliked interruptions. Everyone knew that. The nurse approached quietly and handed him a file. Cross reviewed the contents. His expression changed slightly, not dramatically, just enough for Ethan to notice. That alone was concerning. The trauma chief closed the file. Meeting adjourned. The room immediately became silent. Several residents exchanged confused looks. Morning rounds had never ended early before. Never. Cross stood. Vale. Ethan already knew what was coming. With me. Of course. 10 minutes later, they entered a secure consultation room on one of the hospital's upper floors. Several specialists were already present: neurology, cardiology, internal medicine, radiology, even oncology. The collection of departments felt unusual, very unusual. Then Ethan noticed something else. Nobody appeared confident. The atmosphere felt tense, concerned, almost frustrated. A patient file rested in the center of the conference table. The moment Ethan opened it, he understood why. The case made absolutely no sense. A 26-year-old woman, previously healthy, no significant medical history, no known genetic disorders, no environmental exposures. Yet over the previous 6 months, she had developed symptoms affecting nearly every major organ system: neurological abnormalities, cardiac irregularities, unexplained inflammation, intermittent muscle weakness, episodes of memory loss. Laboratory findings contradicted each other. Imaging results contradicted laboratory findings. Some tests appeared normal, others appeared alarming. Nothing fit together, nothing. Ethan spent nearly 20 minutes reviewing the records. The deeper he looked, the stranger things became. Several leading specialists had already evaluated her. Every possible diagnosis seemed wrong, or incomplete, or impossible. Finally, one of the neurologists spoke. "We've ruled out everything obvious." The cardiologist nodded. "So have we." Another physician sighed. "We're running out of ideas." The room became quiet. No doctor enjoyed admitting uncertainty, especially specialists of this caliber. Professor Cross remained silent throughout the discussion. Eventually, his gaze shifted toward Ethan. "Thoughts?" Ethan almost laughed. He had been reviewing the case for less than half an hour. Several experts had spent months investigating it, yet everyone looked at him anyway. Apparently becoming an international champion had disadvantages. People expected answers, even when answers didn't exist. Ethan leaned back in his chair, thinking, analyzing, searching for patterns. Then something caught his attention. A detail hidden within hundreds of pages of reports. Small, almost insignificant. The timing. Every major symptom flare followed periods of extreme physical stress. The observation alone proved nothing, yet something about it felt important, very important. The meeting continued for another hour. Theories appeared. Theories collapsed. Possibilities emerged. Possibilities disappeared. Eventually, no conclusion was reached. The patient remained a mystery. As participants began leaving the room, Ethan gathered copies of the records. He wanted to review them again. Something felt wrong. Not medically wrong. Pattern wrong. As though everyone was looking in the wrong direction. Later that evening, Ethan entered the surgical simulation system. The moment he arrived, alarms echoed throughout the Future Medicine archive. Golden light flooded the virtual environment. A notification appeared. *** warning ****. Archive case match detected ****. Ethan froze. Then another message appeared. ****. Current patient similarity. 81%***. His pulse accelerated. 81%? That wasn't coincidence. That wasn't random. The archive rapidly opened a collection of locked files. Hundreds of case reports appeared. Research data, diagnostic pathways, clinical observations, all connected to a single category. A category Ethan had never encountered before. He stared at the title. For several seconds, he genuinely thought he had misread it. Then he read it again, and again. The words remained unchanged. ****, emerging multi-system, adaptive syndrome, status, extremely rare, known cases, ***12, worldwide. Ethan's heart began pounding. If as if the archive was correct, then the patient at Westbridge wasn't simply unusual. She might represent one of the rarest medical cases on the planet. And if that was true, everything was about to become much more complicated. Chapter 83a, Circumflex Euro's 12 cases in the world. Ethan barely slept that night. The moment he exited the surgical simulation system, he returned to the patient records. Coffee accumulated beside his desk. Medical journals covered every available surface. Hours passed unnoticed, yet the more he investigated, the more disturbing the situation became. The archive wasn't wrong. Every documented case shared similarities with the patient at Westbridge. Neurological symptoms, cardiac abnormalities, immune dysfunction, progressive multisystem involvement. Most importantly, every patient had initially been misdiagnosed. Repeatedly, the condition disguised itself as dozens of different diseases. That was why it remained hidden for so long. Doctors treated symptoms. The syndrome evolved. Doctors changed diagnoses. The syndrome evolved again, like a moving target, like something actively resisting identification. By sunrise, Ethan had reviewed all 12 known cases. Only 7 patients survived. 5 died before doctors understood what they were facing. The statistics sent a chill through him. This wasn't merely a rare disease. It was a deadly one. Later that morning, Ethan arrived at Westbridge earlier than usual. The patient had been admitted overnight for observation. Her condition remained stable. For now. That phrase bothered him. For now. Because every previous case had begun the same way. Stable. Then suddenly not stable. Ethan found Professor Cross reviewing reports inside the trauma department office. Without a word, he placed a folder on the desk. Cross glanced at the documents. Then looked up. You found something. Not a question. A statement. Ethan nodded. Maybe. Cross hated uncertainty. Yet medicine often required it. For nearly 30 minutes, Ethan explained everything. The archive similarities, the clinical patterns, the international case reports, the survival statistics. The room remained silent. When he finished, Cross leaned back in his chair, thinking, analyzing, evaluating. Finally, he spoke. Evidence. The question was simple. The problem wasn't. Ethan had correlations, patterns, possibilities, but no definitive proof. Not yet. Cross seemed unsurprised. Then find it. That was all. No encouragement, no praise, no reassurance. Just the next step. Find proof. Following days became a race against time. Laboratory testing expanded. Genetic analysis began. Additional imaging studies were ordered. Specialists from multiple departments became involved. Word of the case quietly spread throughout Westbridge. Not publicly. Only among physicians, doctors loved mysteries, especially difficult ones. 3 days later, another complication appeared. The patient developed sudden cardiac symptoms. Her heart rate became unstable, blood pressure fluctuated unpredictably. The situation deteriorated rapidly. A multidisciplinary team immediately assembled: cardiology, neurology, internal medicine, critical care, trauma. Everyone searched for answers. Everyone searched for solutions. Yet, uncertainty remained. That evening, as Ethan reviewed the newest results, his phone rang unexpectedly. Caller ID displayed a number he didn't recognize. International. Interesting. Very interesting. Ethan answered. Doctor, Ethan Vale speaking. The voice on the other end sounded familiar. Extremely familiar. Still finding impossible patients? Ethan blinked, then immediately recognized the speaker. Adrian Novak, the international physician, laughed. Good. You remember me. Their conversation lasted several minutes, mostly professional updates. Research, work, life after the summit. Then Adrian's tone became more serious. I actually called for a reason. Ethan listened carefully. What followed made him sit upright immediately. A hospital in the Federation Alliance had recently admitted a patient with symptoms remarkably similar to the case at Westbridge. Very similar, perhaps identical. Ethan's pulse accelerated. That wasn't possible, or perhaps it was. Adrian continued. The patient is being evaluated by a specialist group. A brief pause followed. Then he delivered the real surprise. One of them wants to speak with you. Before Ethan could respond, another voice joined the call. A woman's voice. Calm, confident, professional. One he recognized instantly. Hello, Ethan. For a moment he forgot what to say, because there were very few people in the medical world capable of surprising him now. Yet this person managed it effortlessly. Dr. Isabella Weiss, one of the world's leading young surgeons, one of the strongest competitors from the International Medical Summit, and apparently, someone investigating the exact same disease. The conversation that followed lasted nearly an hour. Clinical findings, laboratory results, treatment responses, diagnostic theories. The similarities between both patients were undeniable. Too similar. Far too similar. By the time the call ended, Ethan understood something important. This was no longer a local case, no longer a hospital case, perhaps not even a national case. Something larger was happening, much larger. Later that night, the surgical simulation system activated automatically. Golden light filled the Future Medicine archive. A new notification appeared. *** global medical event detected *** known cases updated *** 12 circumflex 14 **. Ethan's expression changed. 14? 2 additional cases, recently identified. Then another line appeared. Final line, the one that truly concerned him. *** warning growth rate increasing ***. For several moments, Ethan stared at the message. The room remained silent. Outside, the city continued sleeping. Inside, a new mystery was beginning. And somewhere in the world, other doctors were asking the same questions, trying to solve the same puzzle, fighting the same invisible enemy. For the first time in his journey, Ethan wasn't facing a rival. He wasn't facing a competition. He wasn't facing a challenge designed to make him stronger. He was facing something unknown. And unknown things were always the most dangerous. Chapter 84A Circumflex Euros the International Task Force. The next morning, Ethan arrived at Westbridge Medical Center, Kerry. More questions than answers. 14 cases. Only 14 known patients in the world. And somehow Westbridge was treating one of them. The situation felt unreal. Inside the hospital, the atmosphere around the patient had changed dramatically. What had begun as an unusual medical mystery was now attracting serious attention. Specialists visited more frequently. Additional testing was ordered. Research discussions continued late into the evening. Everyone understood the same thing. The diagnosis proved correct. This case could become one of the most important medical discoveries of the decade. Unfortunately, proving it remained difficult. The disease didn't behave normally. Symptoms appeared. Symptoms disappeared. Laboratory findings changed constantly. Even the patient's condition seemed unpredictable. One moment he appeared stable. The next, new complications emerged. By noon, Ethan joined another multidisciplinary meeting. Professor Cross sat at the head of the conference table. Several specialists from different departments filled the room. A large display screen showed patient data, imaging studies, genetic testing results, laboratory reports, thousands of pieces of information, yet no definitive answer. The discussion continued for nearly 2 hours. Progress remained frustratingly slow. Eventually, the meeting ended without a breakthrough. As participants prepared to leave, Ethan's phone vibrated. A new email had arrived. The sender immediately caught his attention. *** International Medical Research Coalition ***. His pulse accelerated slightly. Interesting. Very interesting. He opened the message. Contents left him speechless. Several hospitals around the world had officially identified patients with nearly identical symptoms. The total number of cases had increased again. Not 14, 17. 3 new cases in less than a week. That wasn't normal. Not for an ultra-rare condition. Not for something that supposedly affected only a handful of people worldwide. The growth rate worried him a lot. The email contained another surprise. A virtual conference had been scheduled. Selected physicians from each active case would participate. Researchers, specialists, clinical investigators, doctors directly involved with patient care. And somehow, Ethan's name appeared on the invitation list. He stared at the screen. For several moments, he genuinely thought it had been sent by mistake. Then Professor Cross appeared beside him. Apparently the trauma chief had noticed his expression. Without asking permission, Cross reviewed the email. A few seconds later, he handed the phone back. Attend. Of course, that was his response. One word. As always, the conference took place later that evening. For the first time, Ethan found himself participating in an international medical investigation. Doctors from 12 countries joined the call. Leading researchers, department chiefs, disease specialists. Some possessed careers spanning decades. Several had written textbooks Ethan studied during medical school. The scale felt intimidating. Very intimidating. The meeting began with case reviews. One patient from Germany, another from Canada, a teenager from Japan, a researcher from Brazil. Different ages, different backgrounds, different lifestyles. Yet the disease affected all of of them. The similarities were undeniable. As the presentations continued, a troubling pattern emerged. Every newly diagnosed patient experienced faster progression than earlier cases. The room gradually became quieter. Concern replaced curiosity. Then, a familiar face appeared on screen. Isabella Weiss. She represented the Federation Alliance patient. Her hospital had become heavily involved in the investigation. Seeing a familiar face provided unexpected comfort. At least someone else understood how strange this situation felt. Several hours into the conference, a senior researcher presented preliminary findings. The room immediately focused. New genetic markers had been identified. Potential biological mechanisms were emerging. The disease appeared linked to an abnormal adaptive response within multiple body systems. The explanation was complicated. The implications were worse, because if the theory proved correct, the condition wasn't simply rare, it was evolving. The silence following the presentation felt heavy. Very heavy. Then someone asked the question everyone feared. Can it spread? Nobody answered immediately. Eventually, the researcher shook his head. We don't know. Those 3 words were enough to change the atmosphere completely, because uncertainty was dangerous, especially at a global level. The meeting finally ended near midnight. Ethan sat alone in his apartment afterward, thinking, processing, analyzing. This was no longer a rare disease investigation. Something larger was developing, something international, something potentially historic. A golden notification suddenly appeared before his eyes. *** global medical event. Updated ***. Known cases. 17 ***. International task force forming ***. User selected as representative ***. Then another notification appeared. Unlike the others, this one carried a dark crimson border, a color Ethan had never seen before. For the first time since obtaining the system, he felt genuinely uneasy. The message contained only a single sentence. ***. Warning. First fatality predicted within 30 days. ***. The room became silent. Ethan stared at the notification, then at the darkness beyond his apartment window. For months, his greatest challenges had been competitions, rivals, career decisions. This was different. Lives were already at stake, and if the system was correct, time was running out. Chapter 85A. Circumflex Euros Patient 0. The warning from the surgical simulation system haunted Ethan for days. ***. First fatality predicted within 30 days. ***. No additional information, no explanation, just a countdown. For someone who spent his life fighting to save patients, the message felt personal, very personal. Every morning he checked on the patient before starting rounds. Every evening he reviewed her latest laboratory results. Every night he studied case reports from around the world. Yet despite all his efforts, progress remained painfully slow. The disease continued revealing new mysteries. One question in particular dominated every international meeting. Where had it started? Nobody knew. The 17 known patients came from different countries, different cultures, different occupations, different lifestyles. At first glance they shared nothing. No common travel history, no common employer, no common medications, nothing. And that terrified researchers. Because diseases usually left clues, this one seemed determined to hide them. A week later, the International Task Force held another emergency conference. This time the atmosphere felt different, more serious, more urgent. The number of confirmed cases had increased again. 21. The increase wasn't dramatic, but it was accelerating. The trend worried everyone. Doctors from around the world joined the call. Researchers, geneticists, epidemiologists, public health officials. For nearly 3 hours, they reviewed new data, case after case, country after country, pattern after pattern. Nothing fit, nothing connected. Then an epidemiologist from Singapore requested the floor. The woman appeared exhausted, as though she hadn't slept properly in days, which was probably true. Her presentation consisted of a single slide, a world map. At first nobody understood what they were seeing. Then she began highlighting locations. One patient, then another, then another. Lines gradually appeared across the map. Connections formed. Clusters emerged. The room became silent, because for the first time, a pattern existed. The epidemiologist enlarged a specific region. Several cities illuminated simultaneously. Research conferences, medical technology expos, healthcare innovation summits, events attended by multiple patients before symptoms appeared. Ethan sat upright. His pulse accelerated. No, that couldn't be right. Then another slide appeared. The room fell completely silent. Every confirmed patient had attended one of 7 international healthcare events over the previous 18 months. Every single one, different countries, different years, different professions. Yet the connection remained. The implications were terrifying. The disease might not be random. It might not be spontaneous. It might not even be naturally occurring. Nobody spoke for several moments. Then questions exploded throughout the conference. Theories, possibilities, arguments, concerns. The meeting descended into controlled chaos. Amid the confusion, another researcher presented a final discovery. The oldest identified patient, a 38-year old biomedical engineer from Sweden. Symptoms had begun nearly 2 years earlier, long before anyone else, long before the first official diagnosis. The room grew quiet again, because everyone understood what that meant. The engineer wasn't merely another patient. He might be patient 0, the first known case, the beginning, the source. The implications were enormous. If researchers could investigate his history, perhaps they could understand where the disease originated. Perhaps they could identify a cause. Perhaps they could develop a treatment. For the first time in weeks, genuine hope appeared. Then reality struck. Patient 0 had died 8 months earlier. The hope disappeared immediately. The silence afterward felt unbearable. Another dead end. Another lost opportunity. Conference eventually ended without clear conclusions. Yet nobody could ignore what had been discovered. For the first time, the disease had a timeline, a history, a possible origin. That alone represented progress. Later that evening, Ethan remained at Westbridge reviewing the newest information. Rain battered the windows. The hospital had grown quiet. Most staff had already gone home. Only the night teams remained. A knock interrupted his thoughts. When he looked up, he found Professor Cross standing in the doorway. The trauma chief entered without invitation. conversation. As usual, you look terrible. Ethan smiled weakly. Thank you. Cross ignored the sarcasm. What did you learn? For nearly 20 minutes, Ethan explained everything. The conferences, the connections, patient zero, the possibility that the disease might be linked to international medical events. Cross listened without interruption. When Ethan finished, the older surgeon remained silent, thinking, analyzing. Then he asked a single question, one that hadn't occurred to Ethan. What if patient zero wasn't the first patient? The room became quiet. Ethan frowned. What do you mean? Cross crossed his arms. The first identified patient isn't always the first infected patient. The realization hit instantly, like a punch, because he was right. Medicine had taught the lesson repeatedly throughout history. First discovered case rarely represented the true beginning. The actual origin often existed months or years earlier. Hidden, undetected, forgotten. Cross nodded toward the stack of reports. Keep looking. Then he left. The conversation lasted less than 5 minutes, yet somehow it changed everything. That night, Ethan entered the surgical simulation system. The Future Medicine archive activated immediately. Thousands of records appeared, hundreds of timelines, research pathways, case histories. Then a new notification emerged, bright crimson, more intense than before. *** global medical event, updated *** known cases. 21 *** origin investigation active ***. Then another message appeared beneath it. One sentence. One chilling sentence. *** patient zero has been found. ***. Ethan stared at the screen. Relief appeared briefly. Then the next line loaded, and the relief vanished instantly. *** patient zero was not the first patient. For several moments, Ethan couldn't move. The system had confirmed Cross's theory, which meant the disease was older than anyone realized. Older, more widespread, and potentially far more dangerous. Outside the archive, darkness stretched endlessly across the virtual horizon. For the first time since this crisis began, Ethan felt something he hadn't experienced in a very long time. Fear, not for himself, for everyone, because if the disease truly started before patient zero, then somewhere in the world, the real beginning was still waiting to be discovered. Chapter 86a, Circumflex Euros. The Forgotten Conference. Professor Cross's question refused to leave Ethan's mind. ***, what if patient zero wasn't the first patient? ***. The more he thought about it, the more obvious it seemed. Medicine had repeated that lesson throughout history. First identified case almost never represented the true beginning of an outbreak. Diseases hid, symptoms were missed, diagnoses were mistaken, patients disappeared into medical records. By the time doctors noticed a pattern, months or even years could have passed, which meant the real origin of the syndrome might still be hidden somewhere in the past. The following week became an obsession. Every free moment Ethan had was spent reviewing records, old case reports, research databases, archive publications, international conference attendance lists, anything remotely connected to the disease. His apartment slowly transformed into a disaster zone. Medical journals covered the floor. Digital files filled multiple monitors. Coffee cups accumulated faster than he could throw them away. Even Noah Bennett looked concerned. One evening he walked into Ethan's office and immediately stopped. The room resembled a conspiracy theorist's headquarters. Documents everywhere. Timelines on whiteboards. Names connected with arrows. Noah stared for several seconds, then sighed. "You officially lost your mind." Ethan didn't even look up. Probably, that answer didn't help. The investigation continued. Day after day. Hour after hour. Then 6 days later, Ethan found something. A detail so small that almost everyone would have ignored it. Buried inside an old medical technology conference from 3 years earlier was a list of attendees. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual. Researchers, engineers, doctors, industry representatives, hundreds of names. Then Ethan compared the list against known patients. One match appeared, then another, then another. His pulse accelerated. 3 confirmed patients had attended the same event. Interesting, very interesting. He continued searching. Additional names appeared. Not patients, but people connected to patients. Research collaborators, coworkers, professional contacts. The pattern grew stronger. Ethan sat upright. For the first time, the pieces felt connected. Not perfectly, but enough. Conference had been held in Zurich, a major international event focused on biomedical adaptation technologies. Researchers from dozens of countries attended, thousands of participants. The scale was enormous, yet one detail stood out. Several early patients could be linked to it. Not directly, indirectly, which somehow felt even more important. That night, Ethan joined another international task force meeting. Researchers from around the world appeared on screen. The atmosphere remained tense. 21 confirmed cases. No treatment, no cure, no definitive explanation. Ethan waited until the end before presenting his findings. At first, the reaction seemed skeptical. Reasonably so. The evidence remained incomplete. Then Isabella Weiss began reviewing the information. Minutes later, her expression changed. She looked up from her notes. Wait. The room became quiet. Isabella shared her screen. Additional records appeared. Conference attendance databases from Europe. Professional collaboration networks. Research travel logs. The connections expanded immediately, much faster than Ethan expected. One patient linked to another. Another linked to a third. The web continued growing. Several epidemiologists began contributing data. The pattern became impossible to ignore. Nearly every early case could be traced back toward a surprisingly small network of individuals. Not a country, not a company, not an organization. A research community. One focused on advanced biomedical adaptation technologies. The room fell silent, because suddenly the disease no longer appeared random. It appeared connected. The implications were enormous. Then a researcher from Germany spoke. His voice sounded unusually serious. "I know this project." Everyone turned toward him. The researcher hesitated briefly, then continued. 3 years ago, several laboratories collaborated on an experimental biological adaptation platform. The room grew grew quiet, very quiet. No one interrupted. The project was eventually discontinued. Why? Someone asked. The German researcher swallowed. Unexpected outcomes. Those two words immediately captured everyone's attention. Unexpected outcomes. The most dangerous phrase in medical research. The discussion exploded. Questions appeared from every direction. What platform? What outcomes? What happened? The researcher answered what he could. Unfortunately, his knowledge was limited. Much of the project remained classified. Corporate partnerships, private funding, restricted research. The deeper they looked, the more obstacles appeared. Then the conference ended. Not because the discussion was finished, because everyone needed time to investigate. For the first time since the crisis began, they had something resembling a lead, a real lead. Later that night, Ethan entered the Future Medicine archive. The moment he arrived, the archive reacted. Thousands of files shifted automatically, timelines rearranged, connections illuminated. A single document emerged from the darkness. Unlike the others, it carried a black border. Ethan had never seen that before. Slowly, he opened it. The title alone made his stomach tighten. ***, Project Aegis ***, Status, ***, Terminated ***, Date, ***, 3 years ago ***, Associated Risk Classification, Extreme ***. Ethan's heartbeat accelerated. Then he noticed something else. File remained locked. Completely locked. Even the upgraded system refused to grant access. A warning appeared across the screen. Bright crimson. Impossible to ignore. ***, archive restriction active ***, access denied ***. Then, a final message appeared beneath it. A message that sent a chill down his spine. ***, Project Aegis is the beginning. ***. The archive immediately closed. The room became silent, and for the first time since discovering the disease, Ethan realized he might not be investigating a medical mystery. He might be investigating a secret. Chapter 87A, Circumflex Euros Project Aegis. Ethan barely slept. The words from the Future Medicine archive replayed endlessly in his mind. Project Aegis is the beginning. Every instinct told him the message mattered. The problem was simple. He had no idea what it meant. The following morning, he arrived at Westbridge before sunrise. The hospital remained quiet. Most departments were still preparing for the day. Only emergency medicine and trauma surgery operated at full speed. Some things never changed. Inside his office, Ethan immediately began searching for information about Project Aegis. The results were disappointing. Almost nothing existed. No publications, no conference presentations, no official records. For a project supposedly involving international research collaboration, the digital footprint was practically non-existent. That alone felt suspicious. Very suspicious. By mid-morning, another international task force meeting had been scheduled. Attendance was mandatory. The growing number of cases left little choice. When Ethan joined the conference, he immediately noticed the atmosphere. Everyone looked exhausted. Researchers, physicians, epidemiologists. No one had slept much. The disease continued spreading faster than expected. 21 cases had become 24. 3 additional diagnoses in only a few days. The increase wasn't explosive, yet it was accelerating. That worried everyone. The meeting began with routine updates, patient conditions, laboratory findings, genetic analysis, potential treatment approaches. Unfortunately, progress remained limited. No effective therapy had been identified. No cure existed. Then Isabella Weiss requested the floor. Immediately, the room became quiet. Over the past few weeks, she had become one of the leading investigators. People listened when she spoke. Her presentation contained only a few slides, yet the implications were enormous. We found Project Aegis. The room froze. Several researchers immediately sat upright. Others looked genuinely shocked. Apparently, Ethan wasn't the only person investigating. Isabella continued. The project was funded through multiple organizations. Images appeared on screen. Research institutions, private laboratories, biotechnology companies. The network was extensive, much larger than anyone expected. Then she displayed another document, an internal research summary, partially recovered, mostly damaged, yet enough remained readable. The objective of Project Aegis appeared near the top. Development of adaptive biological response systems. Nobody spoke. Several scientists exchanged concerned looks, because everyone understood what those words implied. The project wasn't studying disease. It was studying adaptation, how biological systems responded to stress, how they evolved, how they changed. Suddenly, the syndrome affecting patients seemed far less mysterious. The disease itself appeared adaptive. Symptoms changed, progression changed, responses changed, almost as though the condition continuously modified itself. A terrible possibility emerged. What if the syndrome wasn't a disease? What if it was a failed experiment? The silence following the thought felt heavy, very heavy. Then another researcher spoke. The project was terminated 3 years ago. Why? Someone asked. Nobody answered immediately. Eventually, Isabella sighed. We don't know. The room's frustration became obvious. Every answer created new questions. Every discovery uncovered another mystery. By the end of the meeting, one conclusion remained clear. Project Aegis and the syndrome were connected. The evidence was now too strong to ignore. The only question was how. Later that evening, Ethan sat alone reviewing patient records. The woman at Westbridge remained stable, for now, yet stability no longer reassured him. Every previous case had followed unpredictable patterns. The disease could remain quiet for weeks, then suddenly become aggressive. Nothing felt certain. A knock interrupted his thoughts. Professor Cross entered without waiting for permission. As usual, Ethan was beginning to suspect the trauma chief considered doors optional. Cross glanced toward the reports scattered across the desk. Any progress? Ethan summarized the latest findings. Project Aegis, adaptive biology, international investigations, the possibility of experimental origins. Cross listened quietly. When Ethan finished, the older surgeon remained silent for several seconds. Then he asked a question. A simple question, the kind he always asked. What are you missing? Ethan frowned. What do you mean? Cross pointed toward the files. Everyone is studying the project. His gaze sharpened. Who's studying the people behind it? The room became quiet, because Ethan immediately realized the mistake. They were chasing documents, research, technology, data. Yet projects didn't create themselves. People did. Someone designed Project Aegis. Someone funded it. Someone supervised it. And perhaps, someone knew exactly what happened. Cross nodded once. Conversation was over, as always, yet the idea remained, and for the first time in days, Ethan felt they might finally be asking the right question. End of Chapter 87. Chapter 88. Circumflex Euros, the missing scientist. The next 48 hours changed everything. The International Task Force shifted its focus. Instead of investigating Project Aegis itself, researchers began investigating the people involved. Names emerged. Scientists, executives, research directors, project managers, dozens of individuals connected to the program. Most had moved on years ago. Some retired. Others changed careers. Several disappeared from public research entirely. At first, nothing seemed unusual. Then Adrian Novak found something. The discovery arrived during an emergency conference call. His expression alone told everyone it was important. Very important. I found the lead researcher. Immediately, every participant focused on him. Adrian displayed a photograph. A middle-aged scientist with sharp features and tired eyes. His name was Dr. Victor Reinhardt. Project Aegis Director, Lead Architect, Chief Scientific Officer. The man appeared everywhere throughout the recovered records. If anyone understood the project, it was him. Then Adrian revealed the problem. Nobody had seen Victor Reinhardt in 3 years. The room fell silent. 3 years, the exact period since Project Aegis had been terminated. Coincidence seemed unlikely. Researchers immediately began asking questions. Where was he? What happened? Why disappear? Unfortunately, answers were scarce. Employment records ended abruptly. Financial activity stopped. Professional licenses expired. Public appearances ceased. It was as though the man had vanished completely. The situation felt increasingly bizarre. Then another investigator revealed something even stranger. 3 senior researchers connected to Project Aegis had died within 18 months of the project's termination. Different countries, different circumstances, no obvious connection. Yet nobody liked the coincidence. Not anymore. The atmosphere inside the conference shifted. What had begun as a medical investigation now felt like something else. Something larger, something darker. After the meeting ended, Ethan remained seated for a long time, thinking, analyzing, trying to connect pieces that refused to fit. His phone suddenly vibrated. A new message appeared. Unknown sender. No name. No number. Just text. The message contained only one sentence. ***. Stop looking for Project Aegis. ***. Ethan stared at the screen. For several moments, he thought it might be a prank. Then, a second message arrived. Immediately, without delay. ***. You are already too late. ***. The blood drained from his face. Because nobody outside the task force should know what they were investigating. Nobody. The sender never contacted him again. The number disappeared moments later. Untraceable. Gone. The room felt colder. Much colder. That night, Ethan entered the Future Medicine archive. The moment he arrived, warning alarms echoed through the virtual space. Red lights flashed across the endless library. Notifications appeared one after another. ***. External threat detected. ***. Project Aegis investigation escalated. ***. Archive security increased. ***. Then, a final message appeared. Unlike the others, it remained motionless in the darkness. Waiting. Watching. Almost alive. Ethan slowly approached. The words appeared one line at a time. ***. Victor Reinhardt is alive. His pulse accelerated. Another line appeared. Location unknown. Then the final sentence emerged. The sentence that changed everything. Find him before they do. The archive immediately went dark. Silence followed. Absolute silence. Ethan stood alone in the darkness, heart racing, mind spinning, because for the first time since this mystery began, the path forward was clear. The disease, Project Aegis, the missing scientist, everything connected, and somewhere in the world, a man named Victor Reinhardt held the answers. The only question was whether Ethan could find him before it was too late. Chapter 89. Circumflex Euros, the hunt begins. The message from the Future Medicine archive changed everything. Victor Reinhardt is alive. Ethan couldn't stop thinking about it. The missing scientist had become the center of the investigation. Every clue seemed to lead back to him. Every unanswered question pointed toward him. And now the system itself had confirmed he was alive. Somewhere. The problem was finding him. The International Task Force immediately intensified its efforts. Researchers searched old records. Governments reviewed travel data. Medical institutions reopened archived investigations. Yet despite enormous resources, progress remained frustratingly slow. Victor Reinhardt had disappeared too completely, almost professionally, as though someone had planned his disappearance years in advance. One evening, Ethan joined another emergency conference call. Faces from around the world filled the screen. Adrian Novak, Isabella Weiss, senior researchers, disease specialists. The atmosphere felt increasingly tense. The number of confirmed patients had reached 28. Worse, 2 patients had entered critical condition. The system's predictions suddenly felt terrifyingly real. The first fatality was approaching. Everyone knew it. No one wanted to say it. During the meeting, a cybersecurity specialist presented new findings. Recovered emails, encrypted communications, hidden financial transfers. Most of the information appeared meaningless, until a particular location appeared repeatedly. A small mountain town in northern Switzerland. The place seemed insignificant. Tiny population, minimal tourism, almost no research facilities. Yet Victor Reinhardt's name appeared multiple times in connection with it. The room immediately focused. For the first time in weeks, they had something concrete. A location, a lead, a direction. Then another surprise appeared. The task force wanted representatives on site. Real doctors, people familiar with the disease, people capable of recognizing important clues. Before Ethan realized what was happening, his name appeared on the shortlist. Naturally, apparently his life wasn't complicated complicated enough already. After the meeting ended, his phone rang. The caller ID displayed a familiar name, Professor Alexander Morgan. Ethan immediately answered. The legendary trauma surgeon rarely called without reason. I heard about Switzerland. Straight to the point. As always. Yes, sir. A brief silence followed. Then, Morgan spoke. If you go, be careful. The warning felt unusual. Professor Morgan wasn't the type to offer emotional advice. That made it more concerning. What do you mean? Another pause. Longer this time. Something about this entire situation feels wrong. The call ended shortly afterward. Yet the warning remained. Because deep down Ethan agreed. Everything about Project Aegis felt wrong. The secrecy, the disappearances, the anonymous threats. None of it resembled ordinary medical research. That night, a golden notification appeared. *** main. Objective updated ***. Locate Victor Reinhardt ***. Current progress. 12% ***. Time remaining. Unknown ***. For the first time, Ethan noticed something else. The system no longer described this as a medical investigation. Instead, a new category appeared. ***. Global Threat Event ***. The wording sent a chill down his spine, because the system had never used those words before. Not once. End of Chapter 89. Chapter 90. Circumflex Euros the first death. 3 days later, the worst happened. Ethan was in the middle of a trauma surgery when his phone began vibrating repeatedly. Normally, he ignored interruptions during operations. This time was different. The emergency contact code belonged to the International Task Force. Something was wrong. Very wrong. The surgery lasted another hour. The moment it ended, Ethan checked his messages. 20. 3 missed calls, 12 urgent notifications, 4 emergency alerts. His stomach dropped. First message contained only 6 words. ***. Patient 7 passed away this morning. ***. For several moments, Ethan simply stared at the screen. Patient 7, a 31-year-old engineer from Germany. One of the earliest identified cases. One of the patients whose condition had seemed relatively stable until it wasn't. The system's prediction had come true. The first fatality had occurred. The realization hit harder than Ethan expected. Because this wasn't a simulation. This wasn't statistics. This wasn't theory. A real person had died. A person with a family. A career. A future. Gone. That evening, an emergency international conference was held. The atmosphere felt completely different. No optimism remained. No excitement. No curiosity. Only urgency. The disease had officially become lethal. Researchers reviewed every detail of the patient's decline. Every symptom. Every laboratory result. Every treatment attempt. Searching desperately for clues. Searching desperately for mistakes. Searching desperately for anything. Unfortunately, the conclusions were devastating. Nothing had worked. The disease had adapted faster than treatments could respond. The room fell silent. Several researchers looked exhausted. Others looked defeated. For the first time, Ethan noticed fear. Not in patients. Not in families. In doctors. The people investigating the syndrome no longer felt in control. Then Isabel Weiss appeared on screen. Her expression was unusually serious. There's something else. Immediately, everyone focused on her. She displayed a newly recovered document. Project Aegis. Internal Classification Report. Date, 4 years ago. The document was incomplete, damaged, partially corrupted. Yet one sentence remained readable. One sentence that changed everything. ***. Adaptive progression cannot be stopped once activation occurs. ***. The room became completely silent. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. Because everyone understood the implication. If the statement was true, then the disease wasn't simply spreading. It was functioning exactly as designed. The thought was horrifying. A failed experiment was one thing. A successful experiment was something else entirely. After the conference ended, Ethan sat alone inside his apartment. Rain struck the windows. Thunder echoed in the distance. The city seemed unusually quiet. Then his phone vibrated. A new message appeared. Unknown sender. Again, his pulse accelerated. Slowly, he opened it. This time, the message contained coordinates. Nothing else. No explanation. No threats. No warning. Just coordinates. At the bottom appeared a single sentence. ***. Kiev is waiting. ***. Ethan immediately entered the coordinates. A map appeared. Northern Switzerland. Near the mountain town identified during the investigation. The exact same region. His heartbeat accelerated. Because if the message was real, then someone knew where Victor Reinhardt was hiding. And somehow, they wanted Ethan to find him. At that exact moment, the surgical simulation system activated automatically. The Future Medicine archive illuminated. Golden light flooded the darkness. A notification appeared, brighter than any before. ***. Critical story arc initiated. ***. The architect of Aegis. ***. Difficulty. Catastrophic. ***. Objective. Reach Victor Reinhardt. Then, one final line appeared beneath it. A line that made Ethan's blood run cold. Estimated survival rate. Unknown ***. Notification slowly faded, leaving only silence behind. For the first time, since obtaining the surgical simulation system, even it didn't know what would happen next, and that terrified him more than anything else. Chapter 91a, Circumflex Euro's Journey to Switzerland. Ethan didn't sleep. The coordinates remained displayed on his laptop screen throughout the night. Northern Switzerland, remote mountain region, the same location connected to Victor Reinhardt, the same location discovered independently by the task force. Coincidence seemed impossible, yet the anonymous message bothered him. A lot. Someone wanted him to find Reinhardt. The question was why. The following morning, an emergency meeting was held with the International Task Force. Adrian Novak appeared exhausted. Isabella Weiss looked no better. Neither had slept much. The death of patient 7 had changed everything. The investigation was no longer racing against uncertainty. It was racing against time. Ethan presented the coordinates. Immediately, several analysts began investigating. Within minutes, satellite imagery appeared. Mountain roads, dense forests, scattered buildings, very little civilization. The region looked isolated, perfect for someone who wanted to disappear. The discussion lasted nearly 3 hours. Arguments emerged quickly. Some believed it was a trap. Others believed it was their best lead. Both sides had valid points. Eventually, a compromise was reached. A small investigative team would travel to Switzerland. Officially, they would be reviewing historical Project Aegis records. Unofficially, they would be searching for Victor Reinhardt. The selected members surprised no one. Ethan Vale, Isabella Weiss, Adrian Novak, 3 physicians, 3 investigators, 3 people already deeply connected to the mystery. Later that afternoon, Ethan informed Professor Cross. The trauma chief listened quietly. As always, when Ethan finished explaining the situation, Cross remained silent for several moments. Then he stood and walked toward the window. Outside, helicopters landed on the hospital roof. Ambulances moved through the emergency entrance. Life continued normally, at least on the surface. Finally, Cross spoke. "You're not a detective." Ethan smiled slightly. "I know." "Good." The older surgeon crossed his arms. "Because you're a doctor." The statement seemed simple, yet Ethan understood. No matter how strange the investigation became, patients remained the priority. Always. As Ethan prepared to leave, Cross stopped him. The trauma chief rarely offered advice, which made the moment unusual. "Don't chase answers so aggressively that you forget why you're looking for them." The words lingered long after Ethan left, because deep down, he knew exactly what Cross meant. The investigation wasn't about secrets. It wasn't about Project Aegis. It wasn't about Victor Reinhardt. It was about saving lives. Everything else was secondary. 2 days later, Ethan arrived in Switzerland. The mountains stretched endlessly beneath a gray sky. Snow covered distant peaks. Cold wind swept through the valleys. The landscape felt beautiful and strangely isolated. Adrian Novak met him at the airport. The international physician looked exactly the same. Confident, relaxed, slightly annoying. "Good flight?" "It was a flight." "That's not an answer." "It's the answer you're getting." Adrian laughed. Some things never changed. Several hours later, Isabella joined them. The 3 doctors finally stood together again. Not as competitors, not as summit participants, as investigators. The realization felt strange, yet oddly appropriate. Their destination lay nearly 4 hours away by vehicle. A small mountain town. Population less than 3,000. Tourists rarely visited. Researchers rarely noticed. Perfect place to disappear. As the vehicle climbed winding roads through the mountains, Ethan looked out the window. The scenery became increasingly remote. Eventually, civilization seemed to disappear entirely. The further they traveled, the more uneasy he felt. A golden notification suddenly appeared. Asterisk asterisk, objective proximity, increased asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk, Victor Reinhardt distance. 14 kilometers asterisk asterisk. Ethan froze. 14 kilometers. Closer than expected. Much closer. Then another notification appeared. Unlike the first, it carried a crimson border. Asterisk asterisk warning asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk multiple unknown variables detected asterisk asterisk. The message vanished immediately. No explanation. No details. Just another warning. Outside, snow began falling gently from the sky. The road ahead disappeared into the mountains. And somewhere beyond those peaks, the man who held the answers was waiting. End of chapter 91. Chapter 92 is Circumflex Euros, the cabin in the mountains. The town looked exactly as Ethan expected. Small, quiet, forgettable, the kind of place people pass through without remembering. A handful of shops lined the main road. Several old buildings surrounded a central square. Snow-covered rooftops and sidewalks alike. Nothing seemed unusual. Nothing seemed suspicious. Yet Victor Reinhardt had chosen this place for a reason. The question was why. The trio established a temporary base inside a small hotel near the town center. Within hours, they began asking questions. Most residents knew nothing. Some had never heard the name. Others vaguely remembered a quiet foreigner renting property outside town. A man who preferred isolation. A man who avoided attention. The description fit. Unfortunately, that was all they had. As evening approached, a break finally arrived. An elderly shopkeeper recognized the photograph. His memory wasn't perfect, but it was enough. According to him, Reinhardt owned a cabin deep in the mountains, far beyond the town, far beyond most roads. The information immediately changed everything. Maps were obtained, routes were analyzed, weather forecasts reviewed. The cabin existed, remote, hidden, almost invisible among the forests. Exactly the kind of location someone would choose if they wanted to remain forgotten. The following morning, Ethan, Isabella, and Adrian began the journey. Snow covered the narrow mountain road. The drive took nearly 2 hours. Then the road ended. From there, they continued on foot. The forest felt unnaturally quiet. Only the crunch of snow beneath their boots broke the silence. The deeper they traveled, the stronger Ethan's unease became. Not fear. Instinct. The same feeling he experienced before difficult surgeries, before dangerous situations, before disasters. Something wasn't right. After another 40 minutes of walking, the trees finally opened. The cabin appeared. Small, wooden, weathered by years of snow and wind. Smoke rose from the chimney. Ethan stopped walking. Smoke. His pulse accelerated. Someone was inside. Someone was home. Adrian noticed it too. "So he's here." Nobody answered, because everyone was thinking the same thing. After years of hiding, after months of investigation, after dozens of dead ends, they had actually found him. Slowly they approached, one step at a time. The cabin remained silent. No movement, no sounds, nothing. Then they reached the front door. For several moments nobody spoke. The journey had led to this moment. Every clue, every patient, every mystery, everything. Ethan finally raised his hand and knocked. The sound echoed through the mountains. Silence followed. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15. Then footsteps appeared inside. Slow, deliberate, approaching the door. The handle turned. The door opened. A tired-looking man stood before them. Gray hair, thin frame, sharp eyes, older than his photographs, yet unmistakably the same person. Victor Reinhardt, the architect of Project Aegis. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then the scientist sighed, not surprised, not frightened, almost relieved. His gaze moved between Ethan, Isabella, and Adrian, as though he had been expecting them, as though he knew this day would eventually come. Finally he spoke, and his first words sent chills down Ethan's spine. "I was wondering how long it would take the system to find me." The world seemed to stop. Ethan's heart skipped a beat, because Victor Reinhardt had just said something impossible, something nobody should know. He knew about the surgical simulation system. Chapter 93a, Circumflex Euros, the man who knew. For several seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The cold mountain air seemed to freeze around them. Victor Reinhardt stood in the doorway of the cabin, his expression calm, almost resigned. Meanwhile, Ethan's heart pounded violently in his chest, because there was only one thing running through his mind. Asterisk. How does he know about the system? Asterisk. Adrian and Isabella had exchanged confused looks. Neither understood the significance of Reinhardt's statement. Only Ethan did. The surgical simulation system was impossible, personal, hidden. Nobody should know it existed. Nobody. Yet Victor Reinhardt had spoken the words casually, as though discussing the weather, as though it were completely normal. Finally, Ethan broke the silence. What did you just say? Reinhardt studied him carefully, then stepped aside. You should come in. The answer irritated Ethan immediately. For months, people had hidden information, avoided questions, protected secrets. He wasn't interested in another mystery. Yet despite his frustration, he followed. The cabin interior was surprisingly modern. Computers occupied several desks. Research papers covered nearly every surface. Large monitors displayed medical data. Genetic models rotated slowly on digital screens. The place looked less like a mountain retreat and more like a private research facility. Reinhardt closed the door behind them. For several moments, nobody spoke. Then Isabella stepped forward. Her voice remained calm, professional. We're investigating Project Aegis. Reinhardt laughed softly, a tired laugh. The laugh of someone carrying a burden for far too long. I assumed that much. Adrian crossed his arms. 28 confirmed patients. The scientist's expression darkened. 29. The room became silent. 29. The task force only knew about 28. Reinhardt noticed their reaction. You're behind. Those words immediately raised alarm bells. Behind? What did that mean? Ethan stepped forward. How many cases are there really? For the first time, uncertainty appeared on Reinhardt's face. The scientist walked toward a computer terminal. Several keys were pressed. A database appeared. Patient records, medical histories, research notes, hundreds of files. Then a number appeared. 34. Nobody spoke. 30. 4 patients. Not 28, not 29, 30. 4. The difference was massive. The implications were worse, because it meant the disease was spreading faster than anyone realized. Much faster. Reinhardt stared at the screen. His voice became quiet. You're not dealing with a disease. The room immediately focused. The scientist continued, at least not in the traditional sense. He opened another file. Project Aegis documentation appeared. Most sections remained heavily encrypted, yet enough information remained visible. Enough to understand the basics. 3 years earlier, researchers attempted something revolutionary. Not a treatment, not a vaccine, not a medicine. An adaptive biological framework. A system capable of teaching the human body how to evolve against threats. Cancer, infections, neurological disorders. The goal sounded impossible, because it was, yet somehow they succeeded. Partially. For a brief period, the project worked. Laboratory models adapted, recovered, improved. Researchers celebrated. Investors poured money into development. The future seemed limitless. Then everything went wrong. Reinhardt's voice became quieter. The adaptive framework didn't stop evolving. It kept learning, kept changing, kept improving itself. Eventually, it stopped following instructions. The room became silent. Ethan immediately understood. A self-improving biological system. A medical technology capable of modifying itself. Concept sounded horrifying. Then Reinhardt delivered the truth. The syndrome isn't the disease. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The syndrome is the adaptation process. The words hit like a hammer. Every symptom, every complication, every organ failure, every abnormality. The body wasn't breaking down. It was changing, trying to become something new, something unknown. The realization felt terrifying. Then Ethan remembered the future medicine archive, the adaptive progression warning, the impossible symptoms. Everything suddenly fit together. Too well, far too well. Reinhardt leaned heavily against the desk. Exhaustion filled his face. Years of exhaustion. Years of regret. Then he looked directly at Ethan. You've already figured out more than most of the task force. His gaze sharpened. The system helped you. Again, the system. The word echoed through the room. Adrian and Isabella looked confused. Ethan felt his pulse accelerate, because the question could no longer be avoided. How do you know about it? For the first time, genuine emotion appeared on Victor Reinhardt's face. Not fear. Not regret. Recognition. As though he had been waiting for that question. Waiting years for it. Slowly, the scientist sat down. Then he spoke 4 words. 4 words that shattered everything Ethan believed. I helped create it. End of chapter 93. Chapter 94a, Circumflex Euros origin. Nobody spoke. The silence inside the cabin felt unreal. Ethan stared at Victor Reinhardt, certain he had misunderstood, certain he had heard wrong, because the alternative was impossible. The surgical simulation system had transformed his life. It had appeared mysteriously, without explanation, without origin, without limits. And now a man sitting in a remote mountain cabin claimed responsibility. No, not responsibility. Creation. The difference mattered. A lot. Adrian finally broke the silence. What system? Reinhardt ignored the question. His attention remained fixed on Ethan. The scientist seemed almost fascinated, as though observing a long, running experiment, as though confirming something. Finally, Ethan spoke. What are you talking about? Reinhardt sighed. The sound carried years of exhaustion. Tell me something. His eyes narrowed. When did it first appear? Ethan hesitated. Every instinct told him not to answer, yet curiosity won. The night I nearly lost a patient. Reinhardt nodded, exactly as though he expected that answer. Interesting. That single response somehow felt more disturbing than everything else. The scientist slowly stood, then walked toward a locked cabinet. After entering a security code, the door opened. Inside sat dozens of files, research records, photographs, technical documents, years of history. Reinhardt selected one folder and placed it on the table. The title immediately caught Ethan's attention. Project Ascension. Not Aegis. Ascension. A completely different project. The scientist opened the file. First page contained a familiar symbol, a golden geometric design. Simple, elegant, identical to the symbol Ethan had seen inside the surgical simulation system. His blood ran cold, because this couldn't be faked. Not easily, not accidentally. The symbol was real, and somehow connected to the project. Reinhardt noticed his reaction. Now you believe me. It wasn't a question. The scientist continued. Project Aegis wasn't the beginning, another impossible revelation. Because apparently every answer created 3 new questions. Reinhardt pointed toward the symbol. Ascension came first. His voice became distant, almost nostalgic. Long before Aegis, the project had begun nearly 15 years earlier. A small group of researchers pursued an impossible dream, the creation of a medical intelligence platform capable of accelerating human learning. Not artificial intelligence, not automation, enhancement. A system that could train doctors faster, teach researchers more efficiently, preserve medical knowledge indefinitely. Concept sounded absurd, yet familiar, dangerously familiar. Ethan already knew exactly what it resembled. A surgical simulation system. Reinhardt nodded slowly, as though reading his thoughts. You're using one of the surviving versions. The room spun. One of the surviving versions. Not the version. One of them. How many existed? Who created them? Where were they now? Questions exploded through Ethan's mind. Before he could ask any of them, Reinhardt continued. The system wasn't supposed to choose people. His expression darkened. It wasn't supposed to evolve. The atmosphere inside the cabin changed immediately, because everyone understood the implication. The system had changed. Just like Aegis. Just like the syndrome. The connection suddenly became obvious. Too obvious. Adaptive learning. Self-improvement. Evolution. The same concepts appeared everywhere. Project Ascension. Project Aegis. A syndrome. The pattern couldn't be ignored. Then Reinhardt revealed the final truth. The truth he had spent years hiding. Aegis was built using Ascension technology. The words struck like lightning. Everything connected. Everything. The system. The disease. The missing scientist. The dead researchers. The adaptive syndrome. All of it originated from the same source. One technology. One idea. One mistake. Or perhaps one success. Depending on how someone viewed it. Outside the cabin, snow continued falling. The mountains remained silent. Yet inside that small room, Ethan felt the world shifting beneath his feet. Because for the first time, since receiving the surgical simulation system, he finally understood one thing. The system wasn't magic. It wasn't destiny. It wasn't an accident. Someone built it. Someone tested it. Someone lost control of it. And somehow, Ethan had become part of its story. The question now was far more terrifying. Why him? Chapter 95 of Circumflex Euros. Why him? The question lingered in the cabin long after the conversation ended. Why him? Why had the surgical simulation system chosen Ethan? If Project Ascension created multiple versions, then why had one appeared in his life? Why not Professor Cross? Why not Alexander Morgan? Why not some world-famous surgeon? The question refused to leave his mind. Across the table, Victor Reinhardt seemed to understand exactly what Ethan was thinking. You're asking the wrong question. Ethan frowned. Then, what's the right one? Reinhardt was silent for several moments. Then he opened another file. Unlike the others, this one contained no research data, no technical diagrams, no project reports, only photographs, dozens of them, doctors, researchers, scientists, men and women from different countries and different generations. Some looked familiar, others didn't. Ethan studied them carefully, then noticed something strange. Many of the photographs contained dates. Several stretched back more than a decade. What am I looking at? Reinhardt's expression darkened. Previous candidates. The room immediately became quiet. Candidates, not users, not owners. Candidates. The distinction mattered. A lot. The scientist continued. Project Ascension never functioned correctly. His voice carried frustration. Years of frustration. We created the system to accelerate learning. He pointed toward one photograph. A brilliant researcher. Another. A surgical prodigy. Another. A world-class geneticist. The pattern continued. Exceptional people. The best of the best. Exactly the individuals Ethan would expect. Then Reinhardt revealed the problem. Every candidate failed. Some rejected the system. Others became obsessed with it. A few attempted to exploit it. Several suffered psychological collapse. None reached the project's intended objective. None. The room became silent, because Ethan suddenly understood something terrifying. The system hadn't chosen the strongest candidate. It had chosen the most compatible one. The realization felt strangely personal. Reinhardt looked directly at him. You never treated the system as a shortcut. The words caught him off guard. What? You used it to learn. The scientist leaned forward. Not to dominate. Not to become famous. Not to become powerful. To learn. To improve. To save patients. The distinction mattered. Apparently more than Ethan realized. For several moments nobody spoke. Then Isabella finally asked the question everyone wanted answered. What exactly is the system? Reinhardt laughed softly. Not because the question was funny, because it was difficult. Very difficult. The short answer? He paused. It's alive. The room froze. Adrian immediately shook his head. No. Reinhardt nodded. That was my reaction too. The scientist opened another document. The screen displayed thousands of lines of data. Adaptive learning curves. Behavioral evolution. Independent decision pathways. The information looked overwhelming. Yet one conclusion remained obvious. The system changed itself. Constantly. Continuously. Independently. It learned. Just like Aegis. Just like the syndrome. Everything connected. Everything. Then Ethan remembered something. The notifications, the warnings, the predictions, the way the system sometimes seemed to know things before they happen. His stomach tightened. Perhaps those were programmed responses. Perhaps the system was making decisions. The possibility felt disturbing. Very disturbing. Before anyone could continue, an alarm suddenly sounded from one of Reinhardt's computers. The sharp tone shattered the conversation. Immediately, the scientist's expression changed. Fear appeared. Real fear. The first genuine fear Ethan had seen from him. That's impossible. Reinhardt rushed toward the terminal. Several windows appeared simultaneously. Satellite maps, tracking systems, encrypted communications that had flooded the screens. Ethan stood. What happened? The scientist didn't answer immediately. His face had gone pale. Then he finally spoke. 3 words. 3 terrifying words. They found me. The room became silent. Outside, the snowstorm intensified. Inside, every monitor flashed with warning messages. The investigation had just become much more dangerous. End of chapter 95. Chapter 96a. Circumflex Euros. the black helicopters. The cabin erupted into activity. Victor Reinhardt moved between computer terminals at incredible speed. Files disappeared. Databases encrypted themselves. Entire storage systems began shutting down automatically. Years of research vanished before Ethan's eyes. The scientist looked nothing like the tired old man they had met yesterday. Now he looked like someone preparing for war. What do you mean they found you? Adrian demanded. Reinhardt didn't look up. Exactly what I said. The answer wasn't helpful. The scientist opened a satellite feed. A mountainous region appeared on the screen. Snowstorms reduced visibility, yet several moving objects remained visible. 3 of them. Ethan leaned closer. Vehicles. No. Aircraft. His pulse accelerated. Helicopters. 3 helicopters approaching the valley. Fast. Very fast. The room became quiet, because nobody believed this was a coincidence. Nobody. Isabella stared at the display. Government? Reinhardt shook his head. Worse. That answer somehow made everything more concerning. The scientist finally turned toward them. His expression was completely serious. People funding Project Aegis never disappeared. The room froze. For months the investigation had focused on science, diseases, research, technology. Now a different possibility emerged. Organizations, power, money, people. The realization felt dangerous. Very dangerous. Reinhardt walked toward a reinforced storage cabinet. After entering several security codes, the compartment opened. Inside rested a small metallic case. The scientist removed it carefully, as though it contained something priceless, or deadly, possibly both. What is that? Ethan asked. Reinhardt didn't answer immediately. Instead, he placed the case on the table, then opened it. Inside rested a single data drive. Nothing more. Yet judging by everyone's reaction, it was important. Extremely important. Complete Project Aegis archive. The room fell silent. Every experiment, every result, every secret, everything. Years of research contained within a device smaller than Ethan's hand. Reinhardt looked directly at him. Not Adrian. Not Isabella. Him. You need to take this. Ethan blinked. What? The scientist closed the case firmly. They're coming for the archive. His voice remained calm. Almost too calm. If they obtain it, this starts again. The implication was obvious. Project Aegis wasn't over. Not really. Someone still wanted it. Someone still believed the technology had value. That thought alone was terrifying. Outside, a distant sound echoed through the mountains. Everyone heard it. Rotor blades. Far away, but getting closer. The helicopters. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Then Ethan's surgical simulation system activated automatically. Without warning. Without permission. Golden light flooded his vision. A notification appeared. Unlike anything he had seen before. Asterisk. Emergency protocol activated. Primary user threat level. Critical survival probability. 47%. Ethan froze. 47%. System had never given him odds that low. Not even during the Kingdom Championship. Not even during international competitions. The notification continued. Protect archive priority. Maximum, Then one final line appeared, a line that made his blood run cold. Ascension core detected inside archive. The message vanished. For several moments, Ethan couldn't breathe, because he finally understood. The data drive wasn't just Project Aegis. It contained something connected to the system itself. Something important enough for the system to react. Something important enough to risk lives. Outside, the sound of helicopters grew louder. Closer. The snowstorm continued raging across the mountains. Inside a small cabin hidden deep in Switzerland, the race had begun. Chapter 97A Circumflex Euros escape from the mountains. The sound of helicopter rotors echoed through the valley. Closer. Louder. Every second. Inside the cabin, nobody wasted time. Victor Reinhardt moved with surprising speed for a man who had spent years hiding in isolation. He disconnected hard drives, destroyed storage devices, and erased research records. Years of work disappeared within minutes. The urgency in his actions told Ethan everything he needed to know. The threat was real. Very real. Adrian moved toward one of the windows and looked outside. Snow continued falling heavily. Visibility remained poor. Normally that would be an advantage. Tonight it wasn't enough. They'll be here soon. Reinhardt nodded. I know. The scientist handed Ethan the metallic case. For a brief moment, Ethan hesitated. The object felt heavier than it should, not physically, symbolically. Everything connected to Project Aegis. Everything connected to Ascension. Everything connected to the syndrome. It was all inside. Then, the light suddenly went out. The cabin plunged into darkness. A second later, emergency power activated. Red lighting illuminated the room. Nobody spoke. Nobody needed to. Someone had cut the external power supply. The helicopters had arrived. A new notification flashed before Ethan's eyes. Hostile presence confirmed. Estimated opposition. 12 individuals. Threat assessment. High. 12. That was far too many. Reinhardt opened a concealed compartment behind one of the bookshelves. A narrow passage appeared. Hidden. Old. Apparently prepared years ago. Of course there was a secret tunnel. At this point, Ethan wasn't even surprised anymore. Move. Reinhardt's voice carried absolute certainty. The archive leaves with you. Adrian looked toward the scientist. What about you? For the first time, Reinhardt smiled. A tired smile. The smile of a man who had been running for too long. They aren't here for me. Nobody believed that. Not for a second. Yet there was no time to argue. The sound of engines echoed outside. Door slammed. Voices carried through the snowstorm. They had arrived. The hunt was over. Now came the capture, or escape. The group entered the hidden passage. The tunnel descended beneath the mountain. Cold air flowed through the darkness. The route seemed ancient. Perhaps built decades earlier. Perhaps modified recently. Ethan didn't know. And honestly, he didn't care. His only concern was getting out alive. Behind them, a loud crash echoed through the cabin. Someone had entered. The sound of breaking wood followed. Then shouting. Then more shouting. The search had begun. The tunnel continued for nearly 10 minutes. Every step felt endless. Every sound felt amplified. Finally, a faint light appeared ahead. The exit. Relief began forming. Then another notification appeared. Bright crimson. Warning. Interception collision probability, increasing asterisk. Before Ethan could react, a gunshot echoed somewhere behind them. The tunnel froze. Everyone stopped. Nobody spoke. The sound came again. Closer. Much closer. They were following. And gaining. End of Chapter 97. Chapter 98a. Circumflex Euros. The Ascension Core. Haste through the tunnel became a race. No longer a careful retreat. No longer an escape. A race. Behind them, footsteps echoed through the darkness. The pursuers had discovered the passage. The distance between groups continued shrinking. Snow-covered air burst into view as the tunnel finally opened onto the mountainside. The freezing wind struck immediately. The night sky remained hidden behind thick clouds. Visibility was terrible, which was both good and bad. Harder to find, harder to escape. Adrian looked back toward the tunnel entrance. Move, nobody argued. The group rushed downhill through deep snow. Every step required effort. Every movement burned energy. Meanwhile, the helicopter searchlights began sweeping across the mountains. White beams cut through the darkness. Searching, hunting, looking for them. The entire situation felt absurd. A few months ago, Ethan's biggest concern had been surviving surgical residency. Now armed helicopters were searching for him in the Swiss Alps. Life had become strange, very strange. A sharp electronic sound suddenly filled Ethan's vision. The surgical simulation system activated again. This time the interface looked different. Unstable, almost agitated. Golden symbols flickered across his vision. Notifications appeared faster than he could read them. Then, one message forced everything else aside. Ascension Core synchronization. Detected synchronization? Ethan nearly stumbled. The metallic case in his hand suddenly felt warm. Not hot, warm, as though something inside had activated. The realization sent a chill down his spine. The data drive, the archive, the core, they weren't separate things. They were connected, deeply connected. Before Ethan could process the thought, another notification appeared. Core integrity. 63% data recovery possible foundational records available foundational records? The wording immediately caught his attention. Whatever existed inside the drive wasn't merely research. It was the origin, the foundation, the beginning. Then the system displayed something completely unexpected. A name, not Victor Reinhardt, not Project Aegis, someone else. Primary creator Doctor Elias Mercer Ethan froze. The name meant nothing to him, yet the system highlighted it with maximum priority. Whoever Elias Mercer was. He mattered. A lot. Then another line appeared. A line that changed everything. Status. Alive Ethan stopped moving entirely. Alive? The creator of Ascension was alive? After all these years? After everything? Adrian nearly collided with him. What are you doing? Ethan couldn't answer immediately, because his mind was racing. Victor Reinhardt wasn't the beginning. Project Aegis wasn't the beginning. Even Ascension wasn't the beginning. Someone stood above all of it. Someone who built the original system. Someone who might possess every answer. Then, a spotlight suddenly swept across the mountainside. The beam passed only meters away. Everyone immediately dropped into the snow. Silence returned. Heavy breathing. Racing hearts. The distant sound of helicopters. And the realization that the mystery had just become much larger. Far larger. Because somewhere in the world, the creator was still alive, and if the system was telling the truth, finding Victor Reinhardt had only been the first step. The real story was just beginning. Chapter 99a. Circumflex Euros. The mountain ambush. The searchlight passed only a few meters above their heads. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The snow-covered mountainside remained silent except for the distant roar of helicopter blades. Ethan lay motionless against the frozen ground. The metallic case remained clutched tightly in his hand. For several terrifying seconds, it seemed as though the searchlight might return. Then it moved away. The beam disappeared into the darkness. Adrian slowly released a breath. That was too close. Nobody disagreed. Victor Reinhardt studied the sky. His expression remained serious. Far more serious than before. The scientist seemed to understand something the others didn't, and Ethan hated that. What aren't you telling us? Ethan asked. Reinhardt remained silent for a moment. Then he looked directly at him. People searching for us aren't researchers. The statement immediately caught everyone's attention. They aren't investors. His expression hardened. And they definitely aren't interested in medicine. The implications were obvious. Someone powerful wanted Project Aegis. Someone powerful enough to deploy helicopters in a foreign country. Someone powerful enough to track Victor Reinhardt across years of hiding. The thought alone was disturbing. A loud crack suddenly echoed through the mountains. Gunfire, this time much closer. Snow exploded several meters away. Everyone immediately dropped lower. They found us. Adrian didn't need to say it. The evidence was obvious. The search had become a pursuit. The pursuit had become an attack. Without another word, the group began moving again. Faster. The mountain terrain worked against them. Deep snow, steep slopes, limited visibility. Every step felt exhausting. Behind them, flashlights appeared among the trees. Small points of light, growing closer. The pursuers were gaining. Ethan's heart pounded. Not from fear, from frustration. For months he had chased answers. Now that he finally had them, someone was trying to stop him. A familiar notification suddenly appeared. Emergency navigation activated. A glowing golden line materialized inside his vision. The route curved through the forest, toward a distant location. The system was guiding him. Again, without hesitation, Ethan changed direction. Follow me. Normally nobody would blindly follow such a command. Yet after everything they had experienced together, Adrian and Isabella didn't question it. Not now. The forest grew denser. The rain became rougher. The helicopter lights struggled to penetrate the trees. For the first time, they gained a small advantage. Then the system displayed another message. Safe zone zone detected ***. Distance 1.4 kilometers. Ethan frowned. Safe zone? That was new. Very new. Before he could investigate further, another gunshot echoed through the darkness. A tree trunk exploded beside them. Too close. Far too close. They began running, no longer conserving energy, no longer worrying about noise. Pure survival. The safe zone became their only objective. Minutes felt like hours. Every muscle burned. Every breath hurt. Finally, the trees opened. Structure emerged through the snowfall. Large, modern, unexpected. A research facility, hidden deep within the mountains. The sight stunned everyone, even Victor Reinhardt. No, the scientist looked genuinely shocked. That's impossible. The system notification appeared immediately. ***, destination reached ***, Mercer Research Facility ***. Ethan froze. Mercer, the same name, the same creator, the same man identified by the Ascension Corps. The realization hit instantly. They weren't escaping randomly. The system had brought them here intentionally. And somewhere inside the facility, answers were waiting. End of chapter 99. Chapter 100 at Circumflex Euros, the creator. The facility stood silently beneath the falling snow. Unlike the abandoned laboratories Ethan expected, this place looked active, maintained, operational. Lights glowed behind reinforced windows. Power systems hummed quietly. Someone was here, very much here. Victor Reinhardt stared at the building in disbelief. His face had gone pale. For the first time since meeting him, he looked completely shaken. What's wrong? Isabella asked. Reinhardt didn't answer immediately. When he finally spoke, his voice sounded distant. I thought it was destroyed. The statement sent a chill through everyone. Destroyed. Past tense. Apparently this place wasn't supposed to exist. Ethan approached the entrance carefully. A security panel stood beside the main door, inactive, or so it seemed. The moment he stepped closer, the Ascension core inside the metallic case suddenly activated. Golden light escaped through tiny gaps in the casing. The security panel immediately illuminated. Everyone froze. Then a calm, artificial voice echoed through the mountain air. Identity recognized. The door unlocked. Nobody touched anything. Nobody entered a password. The facility recognized the core automatically. A heavy silence followed. Eventually Adrian spoke. I officially hate all of this. For once nobody laughed. The front door slowly opened. Warm air flowed from inside. Beyond the entrance stretched a corridor illuminated by soft white lights. The design felt familiar. Too familiar. Thing architecture. Golden accents. Minimalist interfaces. Everything resembled the surgical simulation system. Not exactly, but enough, as though the virtual world had been inspired by this place. Or perhaps the other way around. The group entered cautiously. The doors closed behind them. Instantly, multiple displays activated. Screens illuminated throughout the facility. Systems awakened. Machines came online. It was as though the building had been sleeping, waiting. Then, a central display appeared before Ethan. A single message filled the screen. ***, welcome back. ***. Nobody spoke, because the message wasn't addressed to Victor Reinhardt. It wasn't addressed to Isabella. It wasn't addressed to Adrian. The system identified only one user. Ethan. His pulse accelerated. The message changed. Another line appeared. ***, Ascension successor confirmed. ***. The room became completely silent. Successor? Ethan stared at the screen, then at the glowing metallic case, then back at the screen. Nothing made sense. Not anymore. Before anyone could react, another display activated at the far end of the room. A video recording began automatically. Static flickered briefly, then a man appeared, approximately 60 years old, sharp features, intelligent eyes, calm expression. The moment Ethan saw him, he knew. Elias Mercer, the creator, the man responsible for everything. The recording looked old, several years old, yet the scientist spoke directly toward the camera. As expected, if you're seeing this, then I am no longer able to guide the project personally. The room remained silent. Nobody dared interrupt. Mercer's gaze seemed almost alive despite the recording. Project Ascension was never intended to create perfect doctors. Ethan immediately focused, because that contradicted everything he believed. Mercer continued. It was created to find one person. The words echoed through the facility. One person, not thousands, not millions. One. Then Mercer's eyes seemed to stare directly through the screen, directly at Ethan. Someone capable of finishing what I started. A golden notification suddenly exploded across Ethan's vision. ***, main story, arc complete ***, the architect of Aegis ***, status, cleared, rewards, pending. Then a second notification appeared, larger than any before, brighter than any before, more terrifying than any before. ***, final global arc unlocked ***, the Ascension Protocol ***, difficulty, impossible. The recording continued playing, but Ethan barely heard it, because for the first time, since obtaining the surgical simulation system, he understood one thing with absolute certainty. He had never been the end of the story. He had always been the beginning. Chapter 101A, Circumflex Euros Mercer Euros, Tratus Legacy. The facility remained silent after the recording ended. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The weight of Elias Mercer's final words lingered in the air. ***, Project Ascension was created to find one person. ***. Ethan stared at the frozen image on the screen. For years he had believed the surgical simulation system was a tool, a training platform, a mystery, his gift. Now he was learning the truth. The system had been searching for someone. Searching for him. Victor Reinhardt slowly sat down in a nearby chair. For the first time since they met, he looked genuinely exhausted. Not physically, emotionally, like a man carrying years of regret. You deserve the truth, he said. The facility lights dimmed slightly as another display activated. Thousands of files appeared. Research logs, video recordings, development notes, Project Ascension archives. The complete history. 15 years ago, Reinhardt began. Mercer realized medicine was approaching a wall. The room remained silent. He believed doctors couldn't keep up with the growth of knowledge. Every year brought new diseases, new treatments, new discoveries. No human could master everything. Not anymore. Mercer's solution had been radical. Create a learning system capable of preserving and transferring medical knowledge, not replacing doctors, enhancing them, helping exceptional physicians reach their potential faster. faster. The first Ascension prototypes failed. Most candidates became dependent on the system. Others abused it. Several abandoned medicine entirely. None achieved Mercer's goal. Then Ethan asked the question that mattered most. Why me? Reinhardt smiled sadly. Because you never wanted power. The answer surprised him. You wanted competence. The scientist pointed toward the recordings. Every successful user candidate pursued recognition, fame, status, authority, influence. Ethan had pursued patience. That difference changed everything. The system wasn't looking for the smartest doctor or the most talented. It was looking for someone who never stopped learning. Someone who placed medicine above ego. Someone who would keep growing. Mercer had called it the Ascension Principle. The ability to improve endlessly. The room became quiet again. Then another recording activated automatically. Mercer's face appeared once more. This time his expression seemed more serious. If such a thing was possible, if you were watching this, then Project Aegis has already happened. A chill ran through Ethan. Mercer continued. I failed. Nobody spoke. Founder of Ascension had just admitted failure. Ascension was designed to accelerate learning. The screen shifted. Images of Aegis research appeared. Laboratories, scientists, financial investors, corporate executives. They wanted acceleration without wisdom. The images changed again. Experimental biological systems, adaptive technology, genetic frameworks. The result was Project Aegis. The room remained silent. Everything finally made sense. Ascension taught minds. Aegis attempted to teach biology. The same principle, different application. One succeeded. One became a disaster. Then Mercer delivered a final warning. The syndrome cannot be defeated through conventional medicine. The screen went dark. A notification immediately appeared on the facility monitors. Ascension Protocol access available ***. Ethan frowned. Ascension Protocol? The name sounded important. Dangerously important. Before anyone could investigate further, another system activated. A countdown appeared. 120 days remaining. Nobody understood what it meant, yet everyone felt the same thing. Time was running out. End of Chapter 1. 101. Chapter 1. 102A. Circumflex Euros. The countdown. The number remained displayed on every screen. 120 days. Hours passed. The number didn't disappear, didn't change, didn't explain itself. It simply remained there, waiting, watching. Victor Reinhardt looked horrified, genuinely horrified. Ethan immediately noticed. What is it? The scientist didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked toward one of the control terminals. Several commands were entered. Additional files appeared. Old, hidden, restricted. The deeper he searched, the worse his expression became. Finally, he found what he was looking for. A classified document. Project Aegis Emergency Timeline. The room became silent. Reinhardt opened the file. Several charts appeared. Graphs, predictions, population models, disease progression curves. The implications were terrifying. The adaptive syndrome had never been expected to remain stable. Never. According to Aegis projections, every infected patient represented a living adaptation platform, a biological learning network. The syndrome continuously evolved by study. In hosts, continuously improved itself, continuously changed. The process had stages. Stage 1, localized symptoms. Stage 2, multi-system adaptation. Stage 3, accelerated evolution. Then came Stage 4. Nobody spoke as Reinhardt reached the final page. His voice became quiet, almost fearful. Global propagation. The room froze. The words felt unreal. The scientist continued. Countdown isn't measuring time until collapse. He looked directly at Ethan. It's measuring time until Stage 4. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. For months, the task force believed they were studying a rare disease. They were wrong. The syndrome wasn't growing randomly. It was progressing, following the timeline, following the design. The realization felt horrifying. Then Isabella spoke. Can we stop it? The question echoed through the facility. Reinhardt remained silent, then slowly nodded. Maybe. Not yes, not no. Maybe. The answer wasn't comforting, but it was enough. A small amount of hope remained. Then the Ascension core suddenly activated. Golden light flooded the room. The metallic case opened automatically. Everyone stepped back. A holographic display emerged from the core. The image showed a massive structure hidden beneath the facility. Far below them, levels nobody had accessed yet. Locked sectors, restricted archives, secret laboratories. Then, a title appeared. Ascension Protocol final authorization required A familiar notification appeared before Ethan's eyes. Main, objective updated prevent stage 4 evolution time remaining. 120 days success probability. Unknown The system had never looked more serious, never felt more urgent. For the first time since obtaining the surgical simulation system, Ethan wasn't preparing for a competition. He wasn't preparing for surgery. He wasn't preparing for personal growth. He was preparing to save the world. And somewhere beneath the Mercer facility, the answer was waiting. Chapter 1, 103A, Circumflex Euros. The hidden level. The holographic map remained suspended in the air. Everyone stared at it. Beneath the Mercer facility existed an entire underground complex. Multiple levels. Restricted laboratories. Research chambers. Archives. Areas completely absent from the original building schematics. Victor Reinhardt looked stunned. I never knew this existed. That statement immediately caught Ethan's attention. What? Reinhardt shook his head. When Mercer disappeared, I inherited most of the project. His eyes remained fixed on the hologram. Not this. The realization sent a chill through the room. If even Reinhardt hadn't known about the underground facility, the Mercer had been hiding secrets from everyone, including his closest colleagues. The hologram suddenly shifted. A glowing pathway appeared, leading downward, toward the deepest section of the complex. A single message materialized. Ascension Protocol access point level Omega The name alone sounded ominous. Very ominous. Without another word, the group followed the route. The facility guided them through corridors and secured checkpoints. Eventually they reached a forced elevator hidden behind a sealed wall. No buttons, no controls, no visible power source. Then the ascension core activated. Golden light touched the elevator panel. Immediately, the doors opened. Nobody found that reassuring. The elevator descended, slowly, deep beneath the mountain. 1 minute passed, then 2, then 3. The depth became unsettling. Finally, the elevator stopped. The doors opened. A massive underground laboratory stretched before them. The scale was unbelievable. Research stations filled the chamber. Advanced medical technology lined the walls. Thousands of data archives floated above holographic consoles. Everything looked decades ahead of modern medicine. The room felt less like a laboratory, more like the future. A voice suddenly echoed throughout the chamber. Not artificial. Human. Familiar. Ethan Vale. The group froze. A hologram appeared at the center of the room. Elias Mercer. Not a recording. An interactive projection. The distinction became obvious immediately. The hologram's eyes focused directly on Ethan. Congratulations. Mercer smiled slightly. You reached level Omega. For a moment, Ethan forgot how to respond. The founder continued. Everything above was preparation. The room became silent. Preparation? Mercer gestured toward the laboratory. This is the true heart of Project Ascension. The displays surrounding them activated simultaneously. Millions of medical records appeared. Diseases, treatments, research breakthroughs, generations of accumulated knowledge. Then Mercer revealed the truth. The surgical simulation system was never the final project. The statement hit like a hammer. Everything Ethan had experienced. Every simulation, every challenge, every lesson. Not the final project. The beginning. Mercer's hologram pointed toward a sealed chamber at the center of the facility. A circular structure surrounded by golden energy barriers. The Ascension Protocol is inside. Nobody spoke, because everyone sensed the importance of those words. Mercer's expression became serious. The protocol contains humanity's best chance to stop stage 4. Then the hologram flickered. A warning signal appeared across every screen. ***, unauthorized airspace activity detected ***. The room froze. Outside, the helicopters had found the facility. The hunt wasn't over, not even close. End of Chapter 103. Chapter 104A. Circumflex Euros. The truth about Aegis. Warning alarms echoed throughout level Omega. Red lights illuminated the underground complex. The helicopters had tracked them. Somehow, some way, the enemy knew where they were. Yet Mercer seemed completely unconcerned. His holographic image remained calm, focused, as if he expected this moment. Listen carefully. The projection turned toward Ethan. You don't have much time. The sealed chamber at the center of the laboratory slowly illuminated. Energy barriers pulsed with golden light. The sight was mesmerizing and slightly terrifying. Mercer continued speaking. Project Aegis began as an extension of Ascension. The room remained silent. Everyone listened. Every word mattered. Ascension was designed to accelerate learning. A display appeared behind him. Complex neural models rotated through the air. Aegis attempted to accelerate adaptation. The distinction seemed small. It wasn't. One focused on knowledge. The other focused on biology. One trained minds. The other modified life itself. Mercer's expression darkened. The investors wanted results faster. Of course they did. Ethan wasn't surprised. People always wanted shortcuts, especially powerful people. The hologram displayed images from old Aegis laboratories. Scientists celebrating. Funding announcements. Research milestones. At first, everything looked promising. Then the images changed. Failed experiments. Medical emergencies. Containment breaches. Patient deterioration. Disaster. Mercer sighed. They ignored every warning. The room remained silent, because everyone knew how the story ended. The syndrome. The deaths. The crisis. The countdown. All consequences of that decision. Then Mercer revealed the final truth. The one nobody expected. The adaptive framework succeeded. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Succeeded? That wasn't possible. Mercer nodded. As designed, it worked perfectly. A chill spread through Ethan, because suddenly he understood. The syndrome wasn't a failure. The syndrome was success without control. The adaptive system learned, evolved, improved, exactly as intended. The only problem was that it never stopped. It continued adapting beyond human understanding, beyond human control, beyond human prediction. The realization was horrifying. Then the hologram pointed toward the sealed chamber. The Ascension Protocol exists because I anticipated this outcome. Mercer's eyes locked onto Ethan. Years ago, before Aegis began, before the syndrome existed, before everything went wrong, Mercer had prepared a solution, a final safeguard, a contingency plan. The Ascension Protocol. Chamber suddenly began opening. Golden light flooded the laboratory. The energy barriers slowly disappeared. Something inside was awakening. At that exact moment, another alarm sounded. Louder than before. Much louder. A facility monitor activated automatically. Security cameras appeared. Armed personnel were entering the upper levels. Dozens of them. Far more than before. They had found the entrance. And they were coming down. Fast. A notification exploded across Ethan's vision. ***, final global arc progression ***, Ascension Protocol, available ***, time remaining until stage 4 ***, 119 days The countdown had already started, and the battle for humanity's future had officially begun. Chapter 105 at Circumflex Euros. The Ascension Protocol. The chamber at the center of level Omega slowly opened. Golden light flooded the laboratory. For a moment, nobody could see what was inside. The brightness was overwhelming. Then the light gradually faded. A single platform stood within the chamber. Simple, elegant, unexpectedly small. At its center rested a crystalline sphere no larger than a human heart. Golden streams of data flowed across its surface. It looked alive. Not biologically, yet somehow alive. Ethan felt the surgical simulation system react immediately. Notifications exploded across his vision. ***, Ascension Core synchronization. 82% ******* primary protocol detected ****** authorization candidate confirmed *****. Victor Reinhardt stared at the sphere in disbelief. His voice barely rose above a whisper. I thought Mercer destroyed it. The holographic Mercer smiled. I destroyed the public version. The room became silent. Public version? How many versions existed? Mercer continued. The Ascension protocol was never intended to cure disease. That statement surprised everyone. If not a cure, then what was it? The hologram gestured toward the sphere. It was designed to guide evolution. Nobody spoke. The words felt dangerous. Very dangerous. Mercer noticed their expressions. Not biological evolution. The display behind him activated. Human cells appeared. Then neural networks. Then learning systems. It guides adaptation toward stable outcomes. The realization hit Ethan immediately. The syndrome evolved without limits, without direction, without control. The Ascension protocol provided direction, a framework, boundaries, control. It wasn't a weapon. It was a steering wheel. Mercer nodded. As long as the protocol exists, stage 4 can be prevented. Hope appeared for the first time in weeks. Real hope, not theories, not guesses. A genuine solution. Then the laboratory trembled. Everyone froze. A second tremor followed, much stronger. Security cameras automatically activated. The armed group had reached the lower facility levels. They were moving quickly, far too quickly. One of the facility's automated defenses had already been destroyed. Another screen appeared. 23 hostiles, not 12. 23. Adrian stared at the display. That's an army. The system agreed. A notification appeared. ****, facility breach probability. 78% ****. Not good. Not good at all. Mercer's hologram turned toward Ethan. For the first time, urgency entered his voice. You must complete synchronization. Ethan frowned. What does that mean? The sphere illuminated. Golden light surrounded him. Then another notification appeared. ****, Ascension protocol candidate *****, Ethan Vale *****, synchronization required *****, estimated duration. 48 hours ****, 48 hours. The room became silent. They didn't have 48 hours, not even close. The attackers would reach them long before that. Mercer's expression darkened. Then you'll need to buy time. The hologram flickered. The laboratory lights dimmed. And somewhere above them, the enemy continued descending. End of chapter 105. Chapter 106a. Circumflex Euros, the Shadow Consortium. The security feeds revealed the truth. The people invading the facility weren't soldiers. They weren't government agents. They weren't law enforcement. They were professionals, highly trained, well-equipped, organized. Every movement looked practiced, precise, dangerous. Victor Reinhardt's face turned pale. He recognized them. Immediately, Ethan noticed. Who are they? The scientist hesitated, as though saying the name itself carried consequences. Finally, he answered. The Shadow Consortium. The room fell silent. Even Adrian and Isabella looked confused. Reinhardt sighed. They funded Aegis. That alone explained a lot. But not enough. Mercer's hologram activated several archived files. Old financial records appeared. International investment groups, private technology companies, research foundations, all connected through hidden ownership structures. The network was enormous, much larger than anyone expected. For years, the consortium secretly funded experimental technologies, medical research, artificial intelligence, biological engineering, advanced adaptation systems, anything capable of changing the future, at any cost. And that was the problem. Cost never mattered to them, only results. Project Aegis became their greatest investment, their greatest success, and eventually, their greatest loss. When the syndrome escaped control, Mercer wanted the project terminated. The consortium disagreed. They saw opportunity, power, profit. The conflict escalated. Mercer disappeared. Reinhardt fled. The project collapsed, at least publicly. Apparently, the consortium never stopped searching. They wanted Aegis back. They wanted Ascension. And now they wanted the protocol. The reason became clear moments later. Mercer displayed a simulation model. Stage 4. The projected outcome appeared. Everyone stared. Nobody spoke. The syndrome would eventually create adaptive immunity to nearly every disease, adaptive resistance to biological threats, accelerated cellular recovery, enhanced survival characteristics. The benefits sounded unbelievable, because they were. The cost was worse. Unpredictable mutations, organ instability, neurological degradation, mass casualties, global collapse. The consortium saw only the rewards. Mercer saw the consequences. That difference changed history. The laboratory suddenly shook again. A louder explosion echoed through the facility. Security cameras cut out one by one. The invaders were moving faster than expected, much faster. Then a new figure appeared on one surviving camera. A woman, tall, calm, dressed in black tactical gear. Unlike the others, she moved without urgency, without concern, as though victory was already guaranteed. Reinhardt's expression immediately changed. Fear, real fear. That's impossible. Ethan looked toward him. You know her? The scientist nodded slowly. Dr. Cassandra Voss. The name clearly meant something. A lot. Reinhardt swallowed hard. She was Mercer's best student. The room froze. Mercer's best student. The implications were obvious. If Ethan represented Mercer's chosen successor, then Cassandra Voss represented something else. Something dangerous. The camera zoomed closer. The woman looked directly into the lens, then smiled. A cold smile. Confident. Certain. As though he already knew exactly where they were. At that exact moment, Ethan's system activated. A crimson notification appeared, larger than any before. ****, primary antagonist, identified ****, Dr. Cassandra Voss, ****, threat level, extreme ****, success probability against target, 31% ****. For the first time since receiving the surgical simulation system, Ethan officially had an enemy, and she was coming for him. Chapter 107a. Circumflex Euros, the best student. The facility trembled again. Dust fell from the ceiling of level Omega. Somewhere above them, reinforced security doors were being destroyed one after another. The Shadow Consortium was coming. Fast. Very fast. On the remaining security monitor, Dr. Cassandra Voss calmly walked through the facility. No hesitation. No uncertainty. She moved like someone who already knew the layout. Like someone who had been here before. Victor Reinhardt looked shaken. More shaken than Ethan had ever seen him. Tell me about her. Reinhardt remained silent for several seconds, then sighed. Cassandra was Mercer's greatest success. The room became quiet. Mercer's greatest success. The words carried weight. A lot of weight. She joined Ascension when she was 17. Images appeared on one of the facility displays. A young woman standing beside Elias Mercer. Awards. Research papers. Medical conferences. Achievement after achievement. Every record seemed extraordinary. Top medical student. Youngest by a medical researcher. Multiple doctoral degrees. Break through discoveries. The list felt endless. Adrian stared at the screen. She's a genius. Reinhardt nodded. More than that. The scientist looked directly at Ethan. For years, Mercer believed she was the one, the chosen successor, the person Ascension was searching for. A strange feeling settled inside Ethan, because suddenly he understood. Cassandra wasn't simply an enemy. She was another version of what he could have become. Then Reinhardt revealed the problem. Cassandra stopped believing in limits. The room remained silent. She believed evolution shouldn't be controlled. The displays changed. Project Aegis records appeared. Research proposals. Private communications. Funding requests. Cassandra's name appeared repeatedly. She had supported Aegis, defended it, expanded it, while Mercer fought to contain it. Conflict eventually split the entire project. Mercer chose responsibility. Cassandra chose progress. No matter the cost. The laboratory shook violently. Another explosion echoed through the complex. A security feed disappeared. Then another. Then another. The attackers were close. Too close. Mercer's hologram suddenly activated. Cassandra isn't your greatest threat. Everyone looked toward him. Founder's expression remained serious. Cassandra understands Ascension. The statement confused Ethan. Isn't that exactly why she's dangerous? Mercer shook his head. No. A new file appeared on the central display. Project Aegis evolution reports. Thousands of pages. Thousands of simulations. Then one line enlarged. ***. Adaptive network intelligence detected ***. The room became silent. Mercer continued. The syndrome evolved beyond biological adaptation. Ethan felt his stomach tighten. No, that wasn't possible. Mercer looked directly at him. It learned. The same word again. Learned. System learned. Aegis learned. Everything connected. The realization was terrifying. Then another notification appeared before Ethan's eyes. ***. Warning ***. Stage 3 intelligence confirmed ***. Stage 4 risk increasing ***. For the first time, Ethan felt genuine fear. Because diseases weren't supposed to learn. Diseases weren't supposed to think. And yet, this one might. End of Chapter 107. Chapter 108A. Circumflex Euro's breach. The first security door failed. The sound echoed throughout level Omega. A massive metallic crash, followed by silence. Then another impact. Closer. Much closer. The attackers had reached the final containment levels. Time was running out. Inside the central chamber, Ethan stood before the Ascension protocol. Golden light surrounded the crystalline sphere. Synchronization had begun. Slowly, painfully slowly. A progress indicator floated before him. ***. Synchronization. 11%***. Only 11%. 48 hours suddenly felt impossible. Isabella reviewed the facility systems. Adrian searched security feeds. Reinhardt continued accessing old archives. Everyone worked. Everyone searched. Everyone hoped for a solution. Then a voice echoed through the facility speakers. A woman's voice. Calm, confident, familiar. Hello, Ethan. The room froze. Cassandra Voss. She had connected directly to the facility. Every screen activated simultaneously. Her face appeared everywhere. Smiling. Relaxed. As though this were merely a conversation, not an invasion. I've wanted to meet you. Ethan remained silent. Cassandra laughed softly. You really are Mercer's choice. Her eyes moved toward the Ascension protocol. Recognition appeared instantly. So he finally opened level Omega. The smile widened. Good. That single word made Ethan uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Cassandra stepped closer to the camera. You don't understand what you're protecting. Nobody responded. The woman didn't seem bothered. Ascension and Aegis were never separate projects. The room became silent. Mercer's expression darkened. Clearly he didn't want her talking. Cassandra noticed and smiled. Tell them the truth, Professor. Mercer remained silent. For the first time, uncertainty appeared. Then Cassandra revealed it herself. The Ascension protocol doesn't just stop stage 4. Ethan frowned. What does it do? The woman's smile disappeared. It controls it. The words hit like a hammer. Control, not cure, not eliminate. Control. Mercer's hologram immediately interrupted. That's not the entire truth. Cassandra laughed. Of course not. Her gaze shifted toward Ethan. But it's enough. Another explosion echoed through the facility. This one much closer. Warning lights flashed. Containment systems failed. Security barriers collapsed. Then an emergency notification appeared across every monitor. ***. Final security checkpoint breached. ***. The room became silent. Nobody needed an explanation. The consortium had arrived. And moments later, security cameras revealed them. Armed operatives flooded the corridors. Dozens of them, led by Cassandra Voss. She wasn't watching remotely anymore. She was here, inside the facility, inside level Omega. Final confrontation had begun. As Ethan stared at the approaching forces, the surgical simulation system activated again. A crimson notification appeared. ***. Boss encounter initiated. ***. Doctor. Cassandra Voss. ***. Phase 1. ***. Objective. Protect the Ascension Protocol. ***. The countdown continued. ***. 118 days remaining. And for the first time in his journey, victory was far from guaranteed. Chapter 109A. Circumflex Euros the choice. The alarm screamed throughout level Omega. Red warning lights flashed across the facility. Security systems continued failing one after another. The Shadow Consortium had breached the final perimeter. There was no running, no hiding. Only one option remained. Hold the line. On the central display, Cassandra Voss walked calmly through the corridor leading toward the Ascension chamber. Armed operatives followed behind her, yet none of them seemed concerned, as though victory was already certain. Ethan hated that confidence very much. The synchronization process continued. Synchronization. 18% ***, not enough, nowhere near enough. 48 hours had become a luxury they didn't possess. Victor Reinhardt frantically worked at a nearby terminal, searching, calculating, praying for a solution. Then suddenly he froze. I found something. Everyone turned. The scientist opened a hidden section of Mercer's archives. A classified protocol appeared, one Ethan had never seen before. The title immediately caught his attention. ***, emergency synchronization override ***. Mercer's hologram appeared instantly. No, the response came immediately. Sharp, urgent. For the first time, Ethan heard fear in Mercer's voice. What is it? Isabella asked. Reinhardt swallowed, then answered. Protocol can complete synchronization immediately. Hope flashed across the room, then disappeared, because Reinhardt wasn't smiling. What does it cost? The scientist looked directly at Ethan. The user. Silence. Absolute silence. Mercer's hologram closed his eyes, as though he already knew where this conversation would lead. Reinhardt continued. The override forces the Ascension protocol to merge directly with the candidate. Adrian's expression darkened. And the risk? The scientist hesitated, then answered. Unknown. That wasn't encouraging, not even slightly. Mercer stepped forward. The override was never tested. The room froze. Never tested. The words carried terrifying implications. You could lose the system. Mercer paused. You could lose your memories. Another pause. You could die. Nobody spoke. The facility trembled violently. Another explosion echoed through the lower levels. The enemy was getting closer. Every second mattered. Yet Ethan's thoughts remained surprisingly calm, because deep down, the decision wasn't difficult. Not really. 29 patients had become 34. 4 would become hundreds, then thousands, then millions. Countdown proved it. Stage 4 was coming, and if there was a chance to stop it, any chance, then he already knew his answer. No. Adrian immediately stepped forward. Ethan smiled. You don't even know what I'm going to say. I know exactly what you're going to say. For a moment, everyone laughed, even in the middle of disaster. Then Ethan turned toward the Ascension protocol. His decision had already been made. The question was whether everyone else could accept it. Chapter 1, 110A. Circumflex Euros. The deepest simulation. Before Ethan could activate the override, the Ascension protocol reacted. Golden light flooded the chamber. The crystalline sphere rose slowly into the air. Every screen inside level Omega activated simultaneously. Then a new message appeared. *** candidate evaluation required ***. Everyone stared. Evaluation? Now? Timing felt absurd. Yet the protocol didn't seem interested in their opinions. Mercer's hologram watched silently, as though he expected this. The sphere continued glowing. Then Ethan vanished. One moment he stood inside the chamber. The next moment he was gone. Adrian jumped forward. Ethan. Nothing. No response. The chamber remained empty. Far away, Ethan opened his eyes. A familiar environment surrounded him. White walls, endless space, golden light, the surgical simulation system. Yet something felt different, much different. The environment seemed larger, older, more complete. A voice echoed through the endless space. Not the system voice. A human voice. Elias Mercer. Welcome, Ethan. The founder stood before him. Not a recording, not a hologram, a digital reconstruction, a preserved consciousness. The realization felt impossible. Mercer smiled slightly. Before Ascension chooses you, his gaze sharpened. It needs to know who you are. The white world suddenly changed. The first simulation appeared. Sent. Rowan Community Hospital. The beginning, the night Ethan first received the system. Patients filled the emergency room. Doctors rushed through corridors. Everything looked exactly as he remembered. Mercer watched from nearby. This is your final examination. The words echoed. Immediately, another notification appeared. ***, Ascension final trial ***, candidate. Ethan Vale ***, objective. Determine worthiness ***. Then another line appeared. ***, total, simulations remaining. 1,000 ***. Ethan nearly laughed. 1,000? Of course. Even at the end, the system couldn't resist torture. Mercer smiled, as though reading his thoughts. The world believes great doctors are defined by success. The founder gestured toward the crowded hospital. They're not. The simulation activated. Time began moving. Patients arrived. Complications emerged. Lives hung in the balance. And somewhere outside the simulation, the Shadow Consortium continued advancing. The countdown continued falling. The world continued approaching disaster. Yet inside the deepest layer of Ascension, everything depended on one question. Not whether Ethan was skilled enough, not whether he was intelligent enough, not whether he was strong enough, but whether he remained the same person who started the journey. The young resident who only wanted to save patients. The final test had begun. Chapter 1, 111A. Circumflex Euros 1,000 lives. First simulation ended. Then the second began. Then the third. Then the 10th. The 100th. Time lost meaning inside the Ascension trial. Patients arrived endlessly. Complications emerged without warning. Some survived. Some didn't. Every case tested something different. Skill, judgment, leadership, compassion. Mercer observed silently, never interfering, never offering hints, only watching. At first, Ethan approached each simulation like a surgeon, analyzing, diagnosing, operating. Yet as the trial continued, he realized something strange. The simulations weren't becoming harder. They were becoming more personal. One scenario forced him to choose between two critically injured patients when resources existed for only one. Another presented a young doctor making mistakes that Ethan himself once made. Another showed an exhausted surgeon nearing burnout. The challenges weren't medical. They were human. Hundreds of simulations passed, then hundreds more. Ethan began noticing a pattern. Every scenario revolved around a single question. What kind of doctor was he? Not how skilled, not how intelligent. What kind? The realization changed everything. During simulation 6, 143, Ethan discovered an exhausted resident hiding a medication error. The easiest choice would have been punishment. Instead, he chose mentorship. The patient survived. The resident improved. The simulation ended. During simulation 788, a hospital director pressured him to prioritize wealthy patients. Ethan refused. The hospital lost funding, yet patient care improved. The simulation ended. During simulation 912, he faced an impossible mass casualty event. Resources ran out. Doctors collapsed from exhaustion. Patients continued arriving, yet he never stopped fighting. The simulation ended. Eventually, only one remained. Simulation 1000, the final trial. The environment formed around him, and Ethan froze, because he recognized it instantly. Westbridge Medical Center, present day. The same corridors, the same operating rooms, the same people. Professor Cross, Noah Bennett, Adrian, Isabella. Everyone. Then the patient file appeared. Ethan opened it. His heart stopped. The patient name read, ***, Ethan Vale, ***. The room became silent. The diagnosis was worse. Terminal progression, advanced stage 4 syndrome. No cure, no treatment, no hope. Mercer's voice echoed throughout the simulation. If saving the world required sacrificing yourself. Question lingered. Heavy, dangerous. Would you do it? For several moments Ethan said nothing. Then he smiled. Because after everything, the answer had never changed. The reason he became a doctor had never changed. The reason he accepted the system had never changed. The reason he kept moving forward had never changed. He looked toward Mercer. Yes, the simulation shattered instantly. Golden light consumed everything. The trial was over. End of chapter 111. Chapter 112a. Circumflex Euros worthy. The white world returned. Endless. Silent. Golden. Ethan stood alone before Elias Mercer. For several moments neither spoke. Then Mercer smiled. Not the reserved smile Ethan had seen before. A genuine one. The smile of a teacher watching a student surpass expectations. You passed. A notification appeared. ***, Ascension final trial complete ***, result. Success ***, candidate worthiness. Confirmed ***. The words illuminated the endless space. Then the entire world began changing. Golden streams of information flowed around Ethan. Medical knowledge, research discoveries, surgical techniques, generations of accumulated experience. Everything gathered within the Ascension protocol. Everything Mercer's life work had created. The scale felt impossible. Mercer stepped forward. This is what Ascension truly is. The knowledge continued flowing, yet Ethan noticed something important. The information wasn't forcing itself into his mind. It wasn't controlling him. It was waiting, offering, teaching, just like the surgical simulation system always had. Mercer nodded. You finally understand. The founder looked toward the horizon. His expression became distant. Peaceful. Knowledge should guide people. His gaze returned to Ethan, not replace them. For years, Mercer had searched for the right successor. Not the smartest. Not the strongest. The right one. Someone capable of carrying the responsibility. Someone capable of saying no when power became dangerous. Someone capable of remaining human. The realization struck Ethan deeply. The trial had never been about medicine. It had been about character. Suddenly, alarms echoed through the white world. For the first time, Mercer looked concerned. The illusion shattered. Security warnings appeared everywhere. Facility breaches, containment failures, emergency alerts. The real world was calling him back. The Shadow Consortium had reached level Omega. Time had run out. Mercer looked directly at him. This is where my journey ends. The statement carried finality. Absolute finality. Ethan immediately understood. The digital reconstruction was reaching its limit. Mercer's time was over. His role was complete. Before fading away, the founder delivered one final message. The syndrome can still be stopped. Hope appeared. Then Mercer continued. But only if humanity chooses wisdom over evolution. The words lingered. Then the founder smiled. One last time. Good luck, Doctor. The white world collapsed. Golden light exploded around Ethan. A massive notification appeared. ***, Ascension successor confirmed ***, synchronization complete ***, 100% ***, all restrictions removed ***. Then another message appeared, the largest notification Ethan had ever seen. ***, new title unlocked ***, the world's future doctor ***. The light vanished. Ethan opened his eyes. He was back inside level Omega, back inside reality, back inside the war for humanity's future, and judging by the explosions echoing through the facility, he had returned just in time. Chapter 113a. Circumflex Zero's fall of level Omega. The moment Ethan opened his eyes, he knew something had changed. Not the facility, not the situation. Him. Information flowed through his mind with astonishing clarity. Medical theories connected effortlessly. Complex biological systems became easier to understand. The Ascension Protocol hadn't transformed him into something superhuman. It had simply removed barriers, allowed him to see more clearly, think more efficiently, learn more effectively. Across the chamber, explosions echoed through the corridors. Reality returned immediately. The Shadow Consortium had arrived. A security display illuminated. The final containment door had fallen. Armed operatives flooded into the lower levels, and at their center walked Cassandra Voss. Calm, confident, unstoppable, the same way she always seemed. Adrian rushed toward Ethan. You okay? Ethan nodded. How long was I gone? 37 minutes. Only 37? Inside the trial. It had felt like months, maybe years. The synchronization process was complete, yet the crisis remained. A facility. Wide alert suddenly activated. ***, level Omega breach confirmed ***, hostiles entering central chamber ***. The doors at the far end of the laboratory. exploded inward. Everyone turned. Smoke filled the corridor. Armed consortium operatives entered first. Then Cassandra Voss followed. No weapon, no armor, just absolute confidence. Her eyes immediately found Ethan. For a moment neither spoke. Then she smiled. Interesting. The smile faded slightly. You completed synchronization. It wasn't a question. She already knew. Ethan stepped forward. The ascension protocol glowed behind him. You came a long way for something that isn't yours. Several operatives raised their weapons. Cassandra stopped them with a simple gesture. No. The room became silent. I've wanted this conversation for years. Her gaze moved toward the protocol, then toward Ethan, then toward Mercer's inactive holographic station. He really chose you. The words carried disappointment, bitterness, old wounds. For the first time, Ethan saw something beneath Cassandra's confidence. Resentment. Deep resentment. You think Mercer was wrong? Cassandra laughed softly. No. Her eyes hardened. I think he was afraid. The room remained silent. She continued. Humanity has always evolved through crisis. Her voice echoed throughout the chamber. Ascension teaches. He just transforms. The distinction mattered. A lot. To Cassandra, the syndrome wasn't a disaster. It was progress. Dangerous progress. But progress. The realization chilled Ethan, because she genuinely believed it. Then Victor Reinhardt stepped forward. You've seen the casualties? Cassandra nodded. I have. People are dying. Her expression never changed. People always die when the future arrives. The room fell silent. That single sentence revealed everything. The difference between Mercer and Cassandra. Mercer protected humanity. Cassandra wanted to improve it, no matter the cost. Suddenly, another notification appeared on every screen. *** global syndrome cases. 52 ***. Everyone froze. 52. The number had nearly doubled. In days, not months. Days. The situation was accelerating, far faster than expected. Even Cassandra's expression shifted slightly. The syndrome was evolving beyond everyone's predictions, including hers, and that realization changed everything. Chapter 1, 114a. Circumflex Euros, the first cure. The atmosphere inside level Omega changed instantly. 52 confirmed cases. The number hung over everyone like a storm cloud, because for the first time, both sides understood the truth. They were running out of time. Not weeks, not months. Time. Period. Cassandra looked toward the displays. For the briefest moment, uncertainty appeared, then disappeared. Ethan noticed, and filed it away, because certainty was her greatest weapon. Any crack mattered. The Ascension protocol suddenly activated behind him. Golden streams of data filled the chamber. Research files, medical models, biological simulations, thousands of possibilities. Then something extraordinary happened. The information organized itself, not randomly, purposefully. Pathways emerged. Connections formed. Solutions appeared. Ethan froze. The syndrome finally made sense. Not completely, but enough. The adaptive framework wasn't invincible. It wasn't unstoppable. It had a weakness. A stabilization phase. A brief period where adaptation slowed. A moment where evolution became vulnerable. The opening lasted less than 6 hours. Miss it, and the cycle restarted. Exploit it, and intervention became possible. His heart began racing. This wasn't a cure. Not yet, but it was a path. A real path. The first one anyone had found. Ethan? Isabella noticed his expression. Immediately, he turned toward the nearest terminal. His hands moved rapidly. Equations appeared. Medical models. Treatment pathways. Simulation results. Everyone watched. Nobody interrupted. The calculations continued. 1 minute. 2. 3. Then the answer appeared. A stabilization protocol. Experimental. Risky, but scientifically sound. Adrian stared at the results. Can it work? Ethan looked at the projections. The survival estimates. The treatment models. Then slowly nodded. Yes. The room became silent, because nobody had heard that word in weeks. Yes. Not maybe. Not possibly. Yes. Victor Reinhardt looked stunned. Genuinely stunned. The protocol. His voice shook slightly. It can interrupt adaptive progression. Ethan nodded. It won't cure the syndrome. Not yet, but it can stop stage 4. The implications were enormous. World-changing. Humanity saving. For the first time since the crisis began, victory became possible. Then Cassandra laughed. Not mockingly. Not cruelly. Almost sadly. The sound echoed through the laboratory. You really are Mercer's successor. Everyone turned toward her. She studied the treatment model, reviewed the calculations, then smiled. A strange smile, one Ethan couldn't interpret. You found the answer. The words should have sounded like defeat. It didn't, because Cassandra wasn't worried. Not even slightly. And that terrified Ethan. Then she revealed why. A new security feed appeared. Not from the facility. From a hospital. A familiar hospital. Westbridge Medical Center. Ethan's blood ran cold. Dozens of emergency alerts flashed across the screen. Patients arriving. Doctors running. Critical cases. Chaos. Then another notification appeared. *** confirmed cases. 83 ***. The room froze. 83. Not 52. 83. The number had exploded, and it was still climbing. Cassandra's smile disappeared. The syndrome has entered acceleration. Silence followed. Heavy silence. Then she looked directly at Ethan. The race isn't about finding a cure anymore. Her voice became quiet. Dangerously quiet. It's about finding it first. The reality struck everyone simultaneously. They finally had a treatment pathway. A real one. But the syndrome was evolving faster than anyone expected. Final battle had begun, and humanity was losing ground. Chapter 1, 115a. Circumflex Euros. The Surgeon of Euros. Trade gamble. Flight back to Westbridge felt endless. Every minute brought new reports. New cases. New hospitals. New outbreaks. The numbers continued climbing. 83 became 91. 91 became 106. The acceleration phase had begun, and nobody knew how long it would last. Inside the aircraft, Ethan worked continuously. The Ascension protocol remained active through a secure terminal connected to the Mercer facility. Medical models evolved across the screen. Treatment simulations ran without interruption. Thousands of failures. Hundreds of partial successes. Only, a handful of promising outcomes, yet the path existed. For the first time, humanity had a chance. A real chance. When they landed, emergency vehicles were already waiting. No ceremonies, no meetings, no delays. Straight to Westbridge Medical Center. The hospital looked like a war zone. Emergency departments overflowed. Additional treatment areas had been established. Doctors moved non-stop through crowded corridors. Every available bed was occupied. Ethan had seen mass casualty incidents before. This was worse, because it wasn't ending. More patients continued arriving. Every hour. Every day. Inside the main conference room, Professor Cross stood before dozens of specialists. His expression remained calm, as always, yet even he looked tired, very tired. When Ethan entered, the room immediately turned toward him. Hope, expectation, pressure, all at once. Professor Cross spoke first. Tell me you found something. Ethan placed the treatment data onto the central display. The room became silent. He explained everything. The stabilization window, the adaptive cycle, the intervention protocol, the projected outcomes. Nobody interrupted. Nobody moved. When he finished, one question remained. The question everyone feared. Has it been tested? Silence. Because the answer was obvious. No, the protocol existed only in simulations. No human trials. No clinical studies. Nothing. The room's hope immediately faded. Until Ethan spoke. I'll test it. Every head turned. Professor Cross stared at him. The room froze. Someone laughed nervously. Assuming it was a joke. It wasn't. Ethan pointed toward the patient data. We don't have time. 106 cases. Growing daily. Human trials normally required years. They had days. Maybe weeks. The mathematics were brutal. Cross walked toward him. The entire room watched. The two trauma surgeons stood face to face. Then Cross asked the question. Are you certain? Ethan looked around the room. At the exhausted doctors. The overwhelmed nurses. The growing crisis. Then nodded. Yes. The protocol would be tested on the most advanced patient currently alive. The woman whose case started everything at Westbridge. Patient 21. The original mystery. The operation was scheduled for the following morning. That night, Ethan sat alone inside an empty operating theater. For the first time in years, he felt afraid, not of failure, of being wrong, because if he failed, the world might lose its only chance. End of Chapter 115. Chapter 116a. Circumflex Euro's Operation Ascension. The operation began at 6:00 a.m. Every major medical organization in the world was watching. Researchers joined remotely. Hospitals connected through secured networks. Government health agencies monitored the procedure. Never before had a single surgery carried such importance. Inside Operating Room 1, silence dominated. The patient lay unconscious. Machines monitored every heartbeat, every breath, every change. Ethan stood at the center of the room. Professor Cross assisted. Adrian Novak observed remotely. Isabella Weiss coordinated research analysis from Europe. For the first time since the crisis began, the entire medical community worked together. The procedure itself wasn't particularly difficult, not technically. The challenge was timing, precision. The stabilization window lasted less than 6 hours. Miss it by minutes, and the opportunity vanished. First stage proceeded smoothly. Biological markers were isolated. Adaptive activity was tracked. Progression rates were mapped. Everything matched the simulations. Exactly. Hope grew. Then disaster struck. Patient's heart rhythm suddenly destabilized. Alarms erupted throughout the operating room. Blood pressure dropped. Oxygen levels crashed. The atmosphere changed instantly. Every person in the room knew the truth. The syndrome was fighting back. Professor Cross reacted immediately. Emergency medications, cardiac support, stabilization measures, yet nothing worked. The patient continued deteriorating. Fast, very fast. Outside the operating room, hundreds of observers watched helplessly. Inside, Ethan's mind raced. The simulations, the models, the data. Something was missing. Then he saw it. A tiny pattern hidden within the adaptive response. One detail, one connection. Something nobody noticed before. The syndrome wasn't resisting treatment. It was anticipating it. The realization hit like lightning. The adaptive framework had learned. Exactly as Mercer predicted. Exactly as Aegis intended. For a moment, panic threatened to take control. Then another voice appeared inside his mind. Mercer's voice. A memory from the Ascension trial. ***. Great doctors adapt faster than the problem. ***. Ethan's eyes widened. Adaptation. If the syndrome evolved, then the treatment needed to evolve too. Immediately. Right now. He began modifying the protocol mid-operation. A decision no normal surgeon would ever make. A decision that could save the patient. Or kill her. Professor Cross looked at him. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then the older surgeon nodded once. Trust. Complete trust. That was enough. Ethan adjusted the protocol. Changed the sequence. Modified the intervention pathway. And activated the final phase. The operating room became silent. Everyone watched the monitors. Waiting. Praying. Seconds passed. Then one monitor beeped. The patient's heart rhythm stabilized. Another monitor changed. Adaptive activity decreased. Then another. Then another. The syndrome stopped progressing. The room froze. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then the results confirmed it. The treatment worked. Not perfectly. Not completely. But it worked. For the first time in history, the syndrome had been stopped. And somewhere far away, watching through encrypted feeds, Dr. Cassandra Voss stopped smiling. Chapter 117 A Circumflex Euros. The world takes notice. The news spread across the world within hours. At first, many people refused to believe it. For months, the adaptive syndrome had been unstoppable. Doctors could only delay progression. Researchers could only study it. Hospitals could only watch and hope. Now everything had changed. The patient at Westbridge Medical Center remained stable. Her adaptive markers continued declining. The syndrome had stopped progressing. For the first time since the crisis began, humanity had proof. The disease could be fought. Treatment wasn't a cure. Not yet. But it was hope. And hope was something the world desperately needed. Outside the hospital, reporters gathered in massive numbers. Medical organizations requested data. Governments demanded updates. Research institutions offered support. Every major healthcare network wanted access to the protocol. Inside Westbridge, however, nobody celebrated. Not yet, because Ethan knew the truth. The syndrome wasn't defeated. It was adapting. Again. Inside a secure conference room, The international task force gathered virtually. Professor Cross, Adrian Novak, Isabella Weiss, Victor Reinhardt, leading researchers from around the world. The atmosphere was optimistic, but cautious, very cautious. Treatment results appeared on the central display. Success. Yet another graph immediately followed. And the optimism vanished. New infections. The curve continued rising. 106 cases had become 143, then 151. The acceleration phase continued. The treatment could save individual patients, but it couldn't stop new ones. Not fast enough. The room fell silent, because everyone realized the same thing. They had won a battle, not the war. Then Isabella spoke. What if we're treating the wrong problem? Everyone turned toward her. The researcher brought up a series of genetic maps. Patient data, adaptation patterns, advanced simulations. Something immediately stood out. The syndrome wasn't spreading normally. It wasn't behaving like an infection. It wasn't behaving like a genetic disorder. It was behaving like a network. The room froze. A network. Victor Reinhardt slowly stood. His face had gone pale. No. The scientist stared at the data. No, that's impossible. Ethan immediately noticed. What? Reinhardt swallowed, then answered. The adaptive framework was designed around collective learning. Nobody spoke. The implications arrived instantly. Every infected patient wasn't functioning independently. They were connected, sharing adaptations, sharing information, learning together. The room became silent, because suddenly, everything made sense. Why the syndrome evolved so quickly, why treatment stopped working, why progression rates accelerated. Patients weren't learning individually. The entire network was learning. And if that was true, then treating one patient wasn't enough. They needed to treat the source, the core, the origin of the network itself. At that exact moment, Ethan's system activated. A brilliant golden notification appeared. *** primary. Objective updated ***. Locate network core ***. Global survival probability 34%***. Then another line appeared. ***. Core host identified ***. The room froze. Ethan stared at the message. His heartbeat accelerated, because beneath it appeared a name. A familiar name. A terrifying name. ***. Dr. Cassandra Voss ***. End of Chapter 1. 117. Chapter 1. 118a. Circumflex Euros, the core host. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Ethan simply stared at the notification. Dr. Cassandra Voss, the core host, the center of the adaptive network. The realization felt impossible, yet somehow it explained everything. Her confidence, her obsession with Aegis, her certainty that the syndrome represented humanity's future. Victor Reinhardt looked horrified when Ethan shared the discovery, then slowly sat down, as though all his strength had disappeared. It was her. His voice barely rose above a whisper. Years of regret filled his expression. She volunteered. The room immediately focused. Volunteered? Reinhardt nodded slowly. Cassandra became the first successful human integration candidate. The silence deepened. Project Aegis had required testing. Human testing. Someone had to be first. Apparently Cassandra Voss chose herself. The scientist continued. The adaptive framework merged with her biology. His hands trembled slightly. We thought she controlled it. A painful laugh escaped him. We were wrong. Everything connected. The syndrome. The network. The evolution. Cassandra wasn't leading the system. She had become part of it. Perhaps the largest part. Perhaps the center. A new file appeared on the conference display. Recovered consortium records. Biological scans. Progression reports. Then one image appeared. The room froze. Cassandra's neurological structure. It no longer looked entirely human. Adaptive pathways stretched throughout the brain. Complex biological networks connected regions never meant to connect. The images felt disturbing, alien, beautiful, terrifying, all at once. Then another realization struck Ethan. If she's the core host, the room understood immediately. Adrian finished the sentence. Then stopping her stops the network. Nobody looked happy, because they all knew what that meant. There was no medication for this. No protocol. No surgery. At least none they had discovered. The solution required confronting Cassandra directly. The woman who understood Ascension. The woman who controlled the consortium. The woman who had spent years preparing for this moment. The challenge seemed impossible. Then Victor Reinhardt opened another hidden archive. Project Ascension. Final contingency. Mercer's emergency plans. A single document appeared. The title immediately captured everyone's attention. ***. Ascension override procedure ***. Ethan's pulse accelerated. The document contained only one sentence. One final safeguard left behind by Mercer. One final option. One final gamble. ***. The core host may be disconnected through direct neural synchronization. The room became silent, because everyone understood who could perform neural synchronization. Only one person. Only one Ascension successor. Only Ethan. A notification appeared immediately. ***. Final mission available. ***. Ascension override. Difficulty. Impossible. Success probability. 18%. Ethan stared at the number. 18%, the lowest probability he had ever seen. Then another message appeared. A final message, one that made the room feel suddenly much colder. ***. Failure outcome. Global stage 4 activation. The countdown continued. ***. 112 days remaining. The final battle was no longer approaching. It had arrived. Chapter 1. 119a. Circumflex Euros, the last operation. The room remained silent. Success. Probability. 18%. The number hovered before Ethan's eyes. 18%. Any surgeon would reject those odds. Any researcher would search for another option. Unfortunately, there was a one. The countdown continued. ***. 1. 112 days remaining. ***. Every day brought new cases, new hospitals, new victims. The syndrome's network continued expanding across the world. If stage 4 activated, everything would change, possibly forever. Victor Reinhardt finished analyzing Mercer's final files. The results confirmed their fears. Cassandra Voss wasn't merely infected, she had become the center of the adaptive network. Every evolution passed through her, every adaptation spread from her. The syndrome wasn't following Cassandra. The syndrome was using Cassandra. The distinction mattered, because it meant one thing. Cassandra was also a victim. Days later, the final confrontation took place. The Shadow Consortium's primary headquarters had been located, a hidden research complex beneath an abandoned biotechnology facility. The place looked ordinary from above. Below ground, it contained enough technology to reshape the future of medicine, or destroy it. Yet international task force coordinated the operation. Governments provided support. Medical organizations assisted. For the first time, the entire world worked together, not as nations, not as institutions, as humanity. Deep inside the facility, Ethan finally found Cassandra. She stood alone inside a massive chamber. No guards, no weapons, no army, as though she had been expecting him. Perhaps she had. For several moments neither spoke. Then Cassandra smiled. "You made it." Ethan looked around. Adaptive technology surrounded them. The entire chamber seemed alive, pulsing, evolving, changing. The heart of the network. The heart of the crisis. "You can still stop this," Ethan said. Cassandra laughed softly. "Stop progress?" Her eyes glowed faintly beneath the chamber lights. No. The response wasn't surprising. Not anymore. Then Ethan activated the Ascension override. Golden light flooded the room. The surgical simulation system appeared around him. For the first time, visible beyond his own vision. The chamber trembled. Cassandra's expression changed. For the first time, she looked afraid. The neural synchronization began immediately. Memories flooded Ethan's mind. Cassandra's childhood, her years with Mercer, her dreams, her ambitions, her failures, her loneliness. He saw everything, and she saw everything in return. His struggles, his patience, his mistakes, his victories, his journey. The synchronization became a battle. Not physical, mental, ideological. Mercer's belief in responsibility. Cassandra's belief in forced evolution. The syndrome fought desperately. The adaptive network resisted. Every second felt endless. Every moment hurt. Then Ethan realized something. Cassandra wasn't controlling the network anymore. Not completely. The network had evolved beyond her. The woman standing before him had become trapped inside her own creation. The realization changed everything. Instead of fighting Cassandra, he reached for her. A hand. A choice. A chance. For several moments she resisted. Then finally, she stopped. Tears appeared in her eyes. The first genuine emotion Ethan had ever seen from her. "I never wanted this." A confession echoed through the chamber. Then the override activated. The connection shattered. The network collapsed. The adaptive framework lost its core. Across the world, syndrome activity began declining. Hospitals reported stabilization. Patients stopped progressing. Stage 4 disappeared. The crisis was over. The chamber shook violently. Systems failed. Power collapsed. The facility began self-destructing. The last thing Ethan saw before darkness consumed him was a final notification. ***, global threat event complete. ***, humanity survived. End of chapter 1. 119. Chapter 1. 120. Circumflex Euro's ascension. 5 years later, the world looked different, not transformed, improved. The adaptive syndrome had become a historical case study, the greatest medical crisis of the century, a disaster prevented before reaching its final stage. Researchers continued studying the lessons it left behind. Hospitals continued benefiting from the discoveries made during the crisis, and medicine continued moving forward, as it always had. Westbridge Medical Center had expanded dramatically. The National Trauma Network now connected hospitals across multiple countries. Emergency response times reached record lows. Patient survival rates reached historic highs. Professor Adrian Cross had finally retired. Officially, though he still visited often enough that nobody believed retirement suited him. Noah Bennett now led one of the busiest trauma departments in the kingdom. Adrian Novak directed international emergency response programs. Isabella Weiss became one of the world's most respected medical researchers. Victor Reinhardt spent his remaining years teaching young scientists the dangers of innovation without responsibility. And Ethan Vale. Ethan stood before a new building. A building carrying a simple name. ***, the Ascension Medical Institute. ***, doctors from around the world trained there. Surgeons, researchers, emergency physicians, future leaders. Not to become perfect, to become better. That had always been the point. Inside his office, a familiar golden notification appeared. The first in years. Ethan smiled. He had wondered if he would ever see it again. The message remained simple. ***, congratulations. Ethan Vale. ***. Another line appeared. ***, primary. Objective complete. Then another. ***, the world's greatest doctor has been found. For several moments, Ethan stared at the words, thinking about everything. Sent. Rowan. First simulation. The championships. The summit. The syndrome. Mercer. All of it. The journey felt impossibly distant now. One final notification appeared. The last notification. ***, surgical simulation system. ***, mission complete. ***, system shutdown initiated. Golden light filled the room. Warm. Peaceful. Familiar. For a brief moment, Ethan thought he saw Mercer smile. Professor Cross's approval. Every patient he had helped. Every lesson he had learned. Then the light slowly faded. The notifications disappeared. The interface vanished. And the surgical simulation system was gone. Forever. Ethan stood quietly by the window, watching students walk across the institute grounds, watching the next generation begin their journeys. A small smile appeared on his face, because the system had been wrong about one thing. The goal was never to create the world's greatest doctor. The goal was to inspire thousands more, and that journey was only beginning. ***, the end. ***.